Northwest here, reporting from Houston, Texas for Climate Desk. Now, one of the biggest uncertainties in climate science right now is the role of clouds. What better way to work that part out than flying right through them? That's what NASA scientists aboard this airplane think. Welcome to NASA's biggest airborne laboratory. You're coming with us today on an 8-hour NASA flight mission.
When you read these big IPCC climate assessments, what's the biggest uncertainty? There's two, right? The role of aerosols and clouds. Clouds is probably bigger than aerosols.
It's a piece of a puzzle that right now we are missing.
You can't get the models right if you don't understand the chemistry and the process.
Now we're being told we've got to get on. The doors are about to shut, so let's go aboard. Every time you turn on the weather, every time you hear a climate change prediction, that information has to come from somewhere. And it starts by getting sucked out of the air from planes like this.
So this mission is to particularly try to understand the emissions from the surface, so mostly biogenic emissions, so from trees and other plants.
Right now we're flying to our very first part of this experiment on the DC-8. Over Arkansas, there's a particularly pungent bouquet of emissions that scientists are interested in measuring.
Well, these emissions lead to both aerosols and to molecules that both destroy and create ozone. So these are very important things to understand for climate studies.
How it will manifest itself, it will be in more accurate and more reliable predictions.
So what we're doing is taking a series of flyovers, each at a different level of the atmosphere, scooping up those emissions, testing them, and hopefully scientists are going to see exactly what's in this column of air all the way up.
The data that we collect in one flight can keep busy 60 scientists and students for 3 years, 4 years. We are still studying data from data collected 20 years ago.
In fact, this particular mission today is its most heavily equipped in its nearly 30 years of service. Each one of these consoles here is a specially equipped scientific instrument designed to collect all sorts of different data in real time.
And this instrument here tracks the sun.
We're looking at mist chambers. They're used to strip soluble gases.
This black line is the CO2. It's about 390 ppm right now.
We're putting these filters in the bags that we've got the aerosols that we trapped out of a certain amount of air. And so we're sampling up here about 150 liters a minute.
That ultimately flows back into the operational models. It flows back into what goes on TV every day.
Anyway, I got to get this sample going.
You do it. It's a busy man at work. We can't let him rest. Well, get this. We've just spent 2 hours crisscrossing this one cloud formation. In, back out again, back in again.
Then they grow, and we track them as long as we can, and then we let it go.
Even one cloud can hold a host of answers to the mysteries of climate change.
The patterns of, where the clouds are, what type of clouds we see, what kind of weather systems they're associated with it, that'll all be shifting in a shifting climate, in a world with climate change.
Then the big spark is this, is when we actually get the meat on the grill. And then it will be some time to process it.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me?
Reopen the EPA studies. In Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania.
Fracking pollutes our oceans.
Fracking poisons our water.
Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer.
Ban fracking now.
Ban fracking now.
Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now.
Please.
Hey, what do you say, friends and neighbors? Here we are on a great big Monday, June 8th. Good to see you. Hope you're enjoying the show. And we are jumping into the second week of our pledge drive. And I got a real challenge to you. I mean, first of all, if you have already made your pledge, we appreciate it. We thank you. But here's my beef with you today. If you haven't already made your pledge, why not? Come on. Don't be a freeloader. You know, don't just sit back, enjoy all the benefits of Free Speech TV without helping pay the freight here, because that's not how it works. We are in this together. You know, our obligation, the entire Free Speech TV team here, our show, Stephanie Miller, Tom Hartman, David Packman, Amy Goodman, and all the rest. We are here to bring you the very best in commentary and analysis every single day from a progressive point of view, of course. And your job is to help make it possible. You know how it works? We tell you over and over again. There would not be any Free Speech TV if it weren't for you. Our viewers are what keep Free Speech TV on the air. No corporate money, no Koch brothers money, no government money. We don't pay our guests. We depend entirely on our viewers. So we really need you to step up to the plate and do it today. Any gift, any pledge, we appreciate. We particularly ask you to consider $60. You can do $60. We'll send you this great little stamp that says not to be used for bribing politicians. Put that on your checks, put that on your dollar bills or whatever. If you can come help us with $120, we'll send you a copy of a great book by John Nichols, Dollarocracy, all about the evil of money and politics. We've interviewed John Nichols on the show here about the book. It's a great book. For $240, you get the stamp and the book by John Nichols. And for $360, you get that Don't Bribe the Politician stamp, the book by John Nichols, and a Free Speech TV baseball cap. And, you know, if you can really help us with $1,000, you've been fortunate enough as you've got that and appreciate Free Speech TV enough. Make that pledge for $1,000. Come to Washington. And Carol and I will meet up with you. We'll take you out to dinner. You come in and watch the show the next morning, meet the team. We'll get district donuts in. We'll have a good time. Make your pledge today. We really, really need you to know how to do it. The number is 877-378-8669. Number again, 877-378-8669. People standing by to take your calls. And Free Speech TV, always online at freespeech.org. But again, this is the important week, the second week. Pardon me. Got to get it done. Don't be a freeloader. Step up to the plate. Make your pledge today to Free Speech TV. Keep this great thing we've got going, and we couldn't do it without you. Thank you for your help.
Just this month, my bill was like $138.
Even at one phone call a week cost me $40 to $50 every month.
I am living on a fixed income of SSI, so this is really a great hardship. Families are being punished. When they incarcerate your children, they incarcerate the whole family.
In 2011, the Media Action Grassroots Network, Working Narratives, and Prison Legal News founded the Campaign for Prison Phone Justice, an effort to call on the FCC to address the cost of interstate phone calls. The campaign mobilized prisoners to send hundreds of letters. Advocates and families filled out postcards, met with elected officials, and signed petitions. Partnerships were formed across the political spectrum and with groups in the criminal justice, civil rights, and public interest community. The film distribution company Participant Media and director Ava DuVernay joined the fight through a social action campaign tied to the release of the feature film Middle of Nowhere. In an effort to push the FCC to act, the campaign hosted a historic rally outside of the Federal Communications Commission where for the first time, families of prisoners, elected officials, civil rights and faith leaders came together to call for an end to predatory phone rates.
We're all held captive when predatory phone companies gouge our families.
My son has been incarcerated now for over 10 years, and my husband estimates that in the time we spent over $25,000 on prison phone calls.
My hero's not yours, you probably arrested them. Your schools probably neglected them. They spawn thoughts, you probably infected them. Feed us what you feed us, you can lay us next to them. FBI call it major crimes. Babies making babies cry.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Triple Crown, 37 years we waited, and it happened. Hey, hello, everybody. What an exciting finish there. Great to see you today, and good to be back with you here on this Monday. It is Monday, June 8th, says the front page of the New York Times. Hope you had a great weekend, and it's good to be here with you on the Bill Press Show. Coming to you live, as always, from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. We got to stay here to keep on top of what these clowns are up to here in Washington. We'll tell you what's going on in the House and the Senate down the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue at the White House. We'll bring you up to date on the news around the country and around the globe. That's our job. And again, thank you for joining us to join the conversation on this Monday, June 8th. Beautiful weekend. Hope you had a good time. Recharge your batteries and are ready to go. Jump into all the news of the week. Let us know what you think about what's going on. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter. We're here and appreciate and value what you have to say about the issues of the day. On Twitter, you can reach us at BP Show. And on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow. Peter Ogburn and Elisa Murphy showed up this morning. That's good. I wasn't sure you'd be in this morning.
Happy Monday, Bill.
Thank you.
Hey, here we go.
Peter, thank you for keeping the good ship Bill Press afloat on Friday.
Happy to help, sir. It's nice
indeed.
to have you back.
On National Donut Day.
I know. I was very jealous that I wasn't here for National Donut Day. How many dozens of donuts did you?
I think we lost count, actually. I'm not sure.
We just passed out at one point. It had been so many.
I hope it was at least a dozen each. I mean, that's what Donut Day is all about, isn't it?
Of course.
Yeah. Jamie Benson here on the phones. I heard Jamie ate
talk about
a dozen and a half.
This kid with the donuts.
Sprinkles all over his face.
Yeah. Right, really. Just wolf them down. Huh?
Yeah, it was sad.
And Cyprian?
I see he's really close to him, too. We have no idea what he may have consumed.
The shakes. He'd eaten so much sugar. You know, just so many sprinkled donuts.
Well, yeah.
That's the shakes. That's why he rattles the door like that.
So if you see the if your TV shaking, if the picture is shaking this morning,
that's right. That's Cyprian.
Cyprian still got the sugar high.
The sugar shakes.
Cyprian Bolding, our videographer. And yes, indeed, they said, "Oh, come on, man, it's not going to be that easy." American Pharaoh, he might have won the Derby. He might have won the what's the second one? The Preakness.
The Preakness.
Yeah. But oh no, this is the longest race he's ever run. This is a lot longer than the Kentucky Derby. There are horses here he's going to be up against that had not run the first two races. They're going to be fresh, and he's going to be tired. All of that stuff. It was just baloney, man. He put it away.
And now he's a length behind in second. And American Pharaoh kicks away. And they're into the stretch. And American Pharaoh makes his run for glory as they come into the final furlong. And here it is. The 37-year wait is over. American Pharaoh is finally the one. American Pharaoh has won the Triple Crown.
Oh, I am so jealous of sports announcers. Because
it's a great gig, right?
They just get to uncork. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It was super exciting. It had a lot to do with that guy's voice, but it was super exciting.
It was exciting. Yeah, it really was. And, we went out to see a movie Saturday night, Carol. So we have to stay home, watch the tour. And I said, listen, don't worry. If it happens, we will see it over and over and over again, which we have. But it's fun every time. Just exciting.
I mean,
it is.
Here's the thing: horse racing is stupid, and it's also
Oh,
cruel.
no.
My goodness!
Oh no, I'm for banning it.
It's cruel. It's a cruel activity.
I totally
Those horses aren't supposed to run that fast.
I know. I totally agree with you. At the same time, it was exciting.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, now comes the real money, baby.
Oh, dude.
Stud
horse,
time.
Mm-hmm.
That horse is going to...
Stud time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd run that fast if I could make that much money.
If you could get paid to do that?
Yeah.
He's very accomplished 3-year-old, that horse. He's only 3 years old.
Yeah, right. So
it's funny. Somebody brought up the idea of whether
Monty
or not this
Python
horse...
said every sperm is sacred. Yeah, well, every sperm's worth $1 million,
a couple
too.
million,
when it comes to this.
There was the question of whether or not the horse would ever race again.
Oh.
Because he's...
Yeah, but
clearly in prime shape to run.
Right. And this owner said they're going to run him. Maybe they're going to run him again as soon as he's ready. Maybe through the end of the year, and then they might stop. But man, I'll tell you, if I were that owner of that horse, I wouldn't take any chances.
Horse is going to run again.
I would not take any
horse
chances,
won't run
man. He has the pot of gold right there.
That horse will not see a race.
And what if it happens with that other horse, broken this Barbaro, whatever it was.
Barbaro, yeah.
Barbaro.
Yeah, had all those
leg?
problems.
Yeah.
No, they're going to protect this investment. They're sitting on potentially hundreds of millions of dollars with this horse.
Right. So there it is. Just shows you what it takes. Hey, 12 minutes after the hour now. We'll get right into the news of the day. We've got some great guests coming up. Scott Bland, of course, joins us in the National Journal. We have reporters in from the Boston Globe and from CNN. And also former Defense Secretary William Cullen will be joining us as well. But first,
this is Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. We go to Saxony, Germany, where a restaurateur by the name of Silvio...
Is that where President Obama was over the weekend?
No. There's a restaurateur there. His name is Silvio Stelzer, and he runs a restaurant on the grounds of the historic Moritzburg Castle.
Oh.
And so he bought a villa there a couple of years ago, and he is renovating it. And what he found when he renovated it will shock you. You like my clickbait headline there?
Yeah.
What happened is he's renovating this villa, and in the basement, hidden behind a wall, he found several bottles of cognac and champagne that date back to World War II.
Wow.
To a series of 6 interconnected underground cellars on the property. And it turns out those bottles belonged to...
Adolf Hitler.
Adolf Hitler
Get
himself.
out. No.
Yes,
Whoa.
indeed. A large stockpile of cognac and champagne found in this guy's basement, hidden. The Russian army never found after the war when they looted. So this guy now has all of this old...
I thought Hitler was a vegetarian. I guess vegetarians can drink.
I think,
right?
he likes to get drunk, I guess, you know? Who says that the print is dead? At least not here in Washington. Amazon had a list of the 20 most well-read cities. And number 1, Bill, is...
Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C.
This is a book town.
Yeah, it's a book town.
It's a book town. Yeah.
Also on the list, Seattle, Portland, and oddly enough, Las Vegas. But,
yeah. I believe the first 3. I don't believe Las Vegas.
I don't know if I believe that. In New York, holy cow, this man.
You know what? By the way, I tried to find a bookstore once in Las Vegas. You try to find a bookstore in Las Vegas.
You can find an adult bookstore.
Yeah, I've never seen a bookstore.
But seriously, I found one in a mall about 5 miles outside of town.
Yeah.
Had to take a cab to go out there.
That sounds about right.
And they were all books about winning tricks on how to score more money.
Counting cards. Right. Yeah, a lot of great reading out there. In New York, good grief, this manhunt that's underway. Have you seen this story?
Yeah.
These 2 guys escaped prison. Their names are Richard Matt and David Sweat. They are were serving time for murder, but they got out. They used power tools and decoys designed to look like their sleeping selves. A very sophisticated plot here. They cut through a steel wall and followed a series of tunnels until they emerged through a manhole outside the prison walls. This is not optimistic when the guy leading the manhunt says, quote, they could be literally anywhere.
Yeah.
Governor Andrew Cuomo announced there is a $100,000 reward for anybody who can help find these two men. They say that they could be all the way to Canada by now, easily.
Well, Canada's only 20 miles.
Right, it's not that far. Right, so scary, scary story there in New York. Keep your eyes peeled.
This is right out of Escape from Alcatraz, a great Clint Eastwood movie written by my good friend, Richard Tuggle. But okay, you said they use power tools. All right. That immediately raises two questions. Number one, where the hell do they get power tools?
Exactly.
Number two, how could they use power tools to go through concrete?
Yeah.
The concrete. How could they be using those power tools and not be heard in their cells by fellow prisoners? Okay, they're going to not say anything.
Yeah.
But the guards, power tools.
It's pretty amazing.
I mean, we have some neighbors who are taking a stump out of their backyard, like, 5 houses down. You couldn't talk like in our house. It was so loud. You use a power tool like that to blast through concrete? Look what they're doing at this school across the street.
Oh, my God.
Power tools? And you don't think you could hear that?
Yeah.
And then I can't believe they left that note. They left a note saying, have a nice day.
Nice day.
Yeah, I know.
It's scary.
Middle finger on their way out the door.
I know, that was, yeah. That was actually Hey, here we go. I don't know what you did Saturday. I was trying to get some work done Saturday, but I got to tell you, I really got caught up in the Beau Biden funeral up in Wilmington, Delaware. It was a highly, highly emotional event, as expected, but even more so. And just a beautiful, beautiful 3 days of tribute, actually, to this incredible guy, a real man of character, an outstanding public servant, a former attorney general of the state of Delaware, former major in the U.S. Army, served his duty in Iraq while he was attorney general of the state of Delaware. Taken so early from us, 46 years old, Beau Biden, son of Vice President Joe Biden, started Thursday with lying in state in the state capitol in Dover, Delaware. Friday, lying in state at St. Anthony of Padua's Church in Wilmington, Delaware, and then culminating in the funeral on Saturday, attended by just 900 plus people in that church, including some of our leading political figures, Harry Reid, Democratic leader of the Senate, and Mitch McConnell, Republican leader of the Senate. There were dozens of senators. There were almost every member of the president's cabinet was there. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton was there with husband, former President Bill Clinton, and including the two senators, of course, Tom Carper and Chris Coons from Delaware, and the entire extended Biden family. And very moving tributes to Beau Biden from Ray Odierno, who was his commander in Iraq, from Beau's sister Ashley and brother Hunter, which just tore you apart. I mean, they were so moving. And of course, from the President of the United States, who started out by just saying this was a good man.
Beau Biden was an original. He was a good man, a man of character, a man who loved deeply and was loved in return.
We could jump to that third right there, Elisa, where he said, what counts is when it's all over, do you make a difference?
The only thing we can hope for is that our children make us proud by making a difference in the world. Beau has done that and then some.
Yep, and the president concluded just by saying, God bless Beau Biden and all the Biden family.
What a good man. What an original. May God bless his memory and the lives of all he touched.
Indeed, and an incredible person. And there was one theme, I don't know whether you caught this, but to me it was really striking. that throughout the 3 days, if there was one theme when anybody talked about Beau Biden, they talked about what a great public servant he was, but everybody made the same point, that his commitment to public service, his courage in the face of adversity, his love for his family, that family was the most important thing in his life, his love for the downtrodden, that in all of those respects, he was just like his dad, and he got it from his dad. And the president made that point too. That Beau Biden was like a carbon copy of Joe Biden, and he was in many ways. If you looked at him, the young Joe and the young and the young Beau, his gestures, his speech, I found the entire 3 days was as much it was a tribute, of course, to Beau, but it was also a tribute to Joe, and it raised the question that I've raised here before, and I want to raise again this morning, which is, with all that outpouring of affection and love for the Biden family and the tribute to Beau, and again the tributes to Joe, why, when we think of 2016, why not Joe? Why isn't Joe Biden at the top of the list or very near the top of the list? You know, when you think about it, and this is not to take away from Bernie or Hillary or Martin O'Malley or Lincoln or anybody else, but Joe Biden has more experience and better qualifications for being president of the United States. He is more ready to be president of the United States than anybody else, period. Republican or Democrat who's already running or talking about running. And we don't even talk about Joe when we round up the candidates. We never talk about Joe. Is that just because he hasn't announced? I ask you, why not Joe? 866, and don't tell me he's too old. He's 72 years old, and he looks like he's 62, and he acts like he's 52. 866-55-PRESS. Why not Joe? Come on. He's better than anybody else out there.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, what do you say, friends and neighbors? Here we are on a great big Monday, June 8th. Good to see you. Hope you're enjoying the show. And we are jumping into the second week of our pledge drive. And I got a real challenge to you. I mean, first of all, if you have already made your pledge, we appreciate it. We thank you. But here's my beef with you today. If you haven't already made your pledge, why not? Come on. Don't be a freeloader. You know, don't just sit back, enjoy all the benefits of Free Speech TV without helping pay the freight here, because that's not how it works. We are in this together. You know, our obligation, the entire Free Speech TV team here, you know, our show, Stephanie Miller, Tom Hartman, David Packman, Amy Goodman, and all the rest, we are here to bring you the very best in commentary and analysis every single day from a progressive point of view, of course. And your job is to help make it possible. You know how it works? We tell you over and over again. There would not be any Free Speech TV if it weren't for you. Our viewers are what keep Free Speech TV on the air. No corporate money, no Koch brothers money, no government money. We don't pay our guests. We depend entirely on our viewers. So we really need you to step up to the plate and do it today. Any gift, any pledge, we appreciate. We particularly ask you to consider $60. We can do $60. We'll send you this great little stamp that says not to be used for bribing politicians. Put that on your checks, put that on your dollar bills or whatever. If you can come help us with $120, we'll send you a copy of a great book by John Nichols, Dollarocracy, all about the evil of money and politics. We've interviewed John Nichols on the show here about the book. It's a great book. For $240, you get the stamp and the book by John Nichols. And for $360, you get that Don't Bribe the Politicians stamp, the book by John Nichols, and a Free Speech TV baseball cap. And, you know, if you can really help us with $1,000, you've been fortunate enough as you've got that and appreciate Free Speech TV enough. make that pledge for $1,000. Come to Washington. And Carol and I will meet up with you. We'll take you out to dinner. You come in and watch the show the next morning, meet the team. We'll get district donuts in. We'll have a good time. Make your pledge today. We really, really need you to know how to do it. The number is 877-378-8669. Number again, 877-378-8669. People standing by to take your calls. And Free Speech TV, always online at freespeech.org. But again, this is the important week, the second week. Pardon me. Got to get it done. Don't be a freeloader. Step up to the plate. Make your pledge today to Free Speech TV. Keep this great thing we've got going, and we couldn't do it without you. Thank you for your help.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 26 minutes after the hour, here we go. Yes, after watching that incredible, moving video and live event of the tribute to Beau Biden, who was taken from us at the much too young age of 46. And all the tributes to Joe Biden and his family as well. It got me thinking about, when you look at Joe Biden's record, 35 years in the United States Senate, chairman of both Foreign Affairs Committee and the Judiciary Committee, author of the Violence Against Women Act. You can go on and on. The champion of the minimum wage. His record in the Senate, outstanding record in the Senate. And nobody's talking about him. So qualified to be president. What's up? Sam in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Sam, what do you think?
Hi, Bill. I'm driving a truck out here, and I just want to thank you. You keep us awake and give us good information. I've been thinking of Biden all along. He acts presidential. He looks presidential, but he's also the kind of guy that you can sit down and have a beer with.
No doubt about it. And I think people say, well, he says some dumb things sometimes, but, that's just Joe being Joe. I think people appreciate that. He's a real guy. Right?
Well, you compare him to the ex-president Bush, and he sounds like a Rhodes Scholar.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And you know what, Sam? You and your fellow truck drivers, Joe would sit down with you guys at a bar, and he would be right at home. He wouldn't be faking it. Not at all. Yeah. That's who he is. He is absolutely, for real, the genuine article. So, again, let's talk more about it. 866-55-PRESS. Joe Biden, let's put him up there, at least on the list.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, folks, just a little time out. Hope you're enjoying the show today. A little time out here to tell you again and get about Free Speech TV and get your help. And, we reach out to you, all of our viewers around the country during these pledge drives, ask you to help. And we're so grateful when you do. And it's very rare, though. We get a chance to thank one of you actually in person. So we welcome to the show today and to our studio Craig Tepfer, all the way from Chelsea, Michigan, a regular Free Speech viewer and a very generous contributor to Free Speech. Craig, it's good to see you.
It's good to be here, Bill.
Thank you for coming in all the way from Chelsea, Michigan. I know last year we met because you were made a $1,000 pledge. You and your daughter came. Carol and I, we all went out to dinner together. Had a good time. That was a lot of fun.
Had a great time.
Right, and it's good to see you back. So, tell us again, why do you really like Free Speech TV?
Free speech to me is the dream come true. It's television without commercials, plain and simple.
Yeah, and you like the people and obviously in the content on Free Speech?
All of the regular programs plus all of the special programs, you can't find any place else on the television set.
It's the one progressive television channel people don't realize is maybe in the country, right? 24/7, where you can always count on going there and hearing good stuff from a progressive point of view.
This is true. It's 24 hours a day. All of the programs are great to watch, intellectually stimulating, and have great progressive concepts.
Well, we wouldn't be here without people like you, and I want to thank you again personally. And you're back today because you want to make another pledge and challenge people to meet it, right?
That's right. I would like to pledge a half of my net worth, 0.5% of my net worth, to match the Koch brothers' donation to the GOP. So I am committing $500.
Great.
To the Free Speech TV, and hope that your listeners can match that.
I think that's a great challenge. All right, so there you go. There's $500 from Craig Tepfer today. You can match that yourself, or a couple of you, 2 or 3 of you, get together, get your family members together, and match this pledge so Craig doesn't feel alone. And we have the help we need on Free Speech to get going. And, of course, you know the way to do so, Craig, you certainly do, is give us a call at 877-378-8669. Number again, 877-378-8669. Or just go to freespeech.org, freespeech.org. And, Craig, the other thing I want to congratulate you on, you are a pioneer in solar energy. I know you have a solar-powered car right now. So you're doing so many great things. You know,
I've been doing this for most of my life, wind and solar energy, and supporting environmental groups and organizations that promote solar energy.
Well, so good of you to do that, and so good of you to come in. And thanks again for your help for Free Speech TV. And match Craig Tepfer's $500 grant. Thank you, Craig.
It's so important. Thank you.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Here we go, 34 minutes after the hour, just making the point that Joe Biden, every bit as qualified, if not more, every bit as experienced, if not more, than anybody else who is talking about running for president. And at least he ought to be among the people we are discussing, at least one on the list, if not at the very top of the list. He says, by the way, he's going to make a decision sometime this summer, and he's got time. He's got time to make it. And one of the reasons, maybe, love your comments on this at 866-55-PRESS, but one of the reasons, maybe, that more people are not talking about him is because, unlike when Al Gore was vice president, the last 4 years of the Bill Clinton presidency for Al Gore were all about Al Gore running for president. Everybody knew he was going to run. He was doing stuff to help him run for president, the whole thing. Joe has clearly not done that.
No, not at all.
His whole service has been being as helpful as he can to Barack Obama. And so, he's just done his job. And if you saw the two of them at that funeral Saturday, they have a very, very close bond.
There's a great piece. I'm gonna tweet this out so that everybody can read it. That Margaret Tolive wrote, and it just talks about the special bond that Biden and Obama have, and it's not something that we've seen before in a president and vice president. They are very, very close friends. They respect the hell out of each other.
You can't fake it.
And you can't fake it.
No. And remember, in the beginning, because, Joe is Joe, right? And he's so much unlike Obama, because Obama's so, restrained, if you will, right? And seldom shows that. Joe, he's right out there.
It's all
right?
out there.
And it took a little while for Obama kind of to get used to that, but he's certainly come around to that and really respects. And Biden is his go-to guy when he has to get something done in the Congress. When it came for the very first thing, the stimulus, who do you put in charge? Biden. When it was gun safety legislation, who do you put in charge? Joe Biden. When it was rescuing the auto industry, who do you put in charge? Joe Biden. When the Senate and the House could not agree on a budget and the government was going, who did he send in there? Mitch McConnell loves and respects Joe Biden. He sent in, and Joe Biden was able to work out a deal with Mitch McConnell. So, he has proven time and time again he knows how to get things done. He knows the government, both the executive branch now and the legislative branch, better than anybody else. Again, look, this is, you know me. I'm one of the ones who encouraged Bernie Sanders to run, and I'm just thrilled to do backflips every day that Bernie Sanders is running. It's not taking away from Bernie or Hillary or anything, but when you just look at the experience, the qualifications, nobody comes close.
Yeah.
Nobody comes close. Hey, let's say hello to Mark out in, it can't be Tico, California, is it? Chico, California, no? Hey, Mark, where are you?
I'm doing good, Bill. How are you?
I'm good. Where are you in California?
I'm in Chico, California.
I never heard of. Where is Tico, California?
No. It is Chico.
Chico, right? Chico, right?
Chico, yes.
Chico. Okay, right. Good. Yeah. Great town. Great little town up there. No, not that far from Sacramento. What do you think about Biden?
All right. I think he's a great man, very experienced, and I think the reason he wouldn't run is for the love of his family. I think they feel that they need him so much.
Yeah, you may be right.
I think he would be a great person. But I have a question for you. What's with the sunglasses?
Yo.
Hey, I'm just too cool for school, Mark. That's all.
Yeah. You ever heard of a wake and bake?
Is the wife going to make hemp scarves?
Oh.
Nice.
You know what? I'll ask her. I'll tell you. She makes them out of bamboo, so why not hemp?
Sure.
Yeah, why not? I tell you. And hemp's a big.
Talk to Carol.
I'll talk to Carol about that.
She'd sell some hemp scarves. Damn right.
Right. Good. Yeah. So I had a little procedure the other day, and just for the glare of the lights, I'm wearing my sunglasses.
There you go.
Plus, damn it, Mark, it's summer.
Yeah.
It's coming up here, man. This is the summer look. Get used to it.
Yeah. Don't be such a square.
You probably will see me with my regular glasses on maybe October. What do you think, huh? This
Too cool for school, man.
Get ready for this. Okay. Yeah. Before we move on, just one. As I mentioned, even the president noted the bond between Bo and his dad.
It's no secret that a lot of what made Bo the way he was just how much he loved and admired his dad.
And remember, we saw last week so many times that clip when at the 2008 convention in Denver, when Bo Biden introduced his father, and he said, "My name is Bo Biden, and Joe Biden's my dad."
Yeah. To go back and watch those clips now is it's amazing.
And remember when the vice president, then just Senator Biden, got up and he said, my father always said that the sign of your success is when your son is a success. And he said, by that measure, I've been a big success.
Yeah.
So you could just see that the love and the pride between the two of them. And to me, that's a reflection on Joe Biden and reminds us, I think, of what a great man he is and what a great president that he would make. By contrast, by the way, look at some of the other clowns who are out there running today. They were out over the weekend. One of the things that I find most interesting, I'll do a parting shot about this a little bit later. Rick Santorum, candidate for president, Republican. All right, okay. Now, here's the thing: Joe Biden and Rick Santorum are both very devout Catholics, and it comes to the fore these days because on the 18th, just 10 days from today, on the 18th of June, the Pope is scheduled to release his encyclical on climate change. Now, he's talked about it before, but this is going to be a papal encyclical where the Pope he's certainly not going to deny climate change. What he's going to say in so many words is that this is one of the most important issues facing humankind, and that we, as people of faith, not just Catholics, as people of faith, have an obligation and ready for this, a moral duty to do something about climate change in order to save this planet, this magnificent planet that God has given us. We have a responsibility to take care of God's creation, and we cannot ignore climate change. That is driving Rick Santorum crazy. He said, first of all, he was on the radio with Dom Giordano. Boy, he's been doing radio.
Yeah, right?
Man, twice as long as I have.
Talking about a blast from the past.
Yeah, right. I didn't know he was still out there.
Neither did I.
But he on Don Giordano's radio show, he said, come on, leave it to scientists.
The church has gotten it wrong a few times on science, and I think that we probably are better off leaving science to the scientists and focusing on what we do, what we're really good at, which is theology and morality.
Well, first of all, it just shows Santorum doesn't know what he's talking about. I might point out that the Pope has a degree in chemistry, so he is a scientist, all right? But you don't have to be a scientist to talk about climate change. Come on. I mean, popes have always talked about moral issues and important issues facing society. From the minimum wage to the Vietnam War to World War II, that's their job. Then Rick Santorum is on with Chris Wallace on Sunday, and Chris Wallace asks a very good question. Well, if the Pope can't talk about it, what the hell are you doing?
I guess the question would be, if he shouldn't talk about it, should you?
Well, we have to make public policy with regard to the environmental policy.
But you're not a scientist. You said leave science to the scientists.
Well, but the point is that politicians, whether we like it or not, people in government have to make decisions with respect to our public policy that affect American workers.
Yeah. And the Pope has to talk about important issues, particularly moral issues. And you know what Santorum doesn't like about this? Because the fact is the Pope is going to say that for people like Rick Santorum to deny the reality of climate change and refuse to do anything about it is immoral. immoral. That's where Rick Santorum's
Why
coming
is
from.
Rick Santorum picking a fight with the Pope?
Idiot.
Good grief.
Yeah, it's not the only thing he's immoral about.
Yeah.
Scott Bland standing by at National Journal Hotline. We'll join him next. Stay with us. Hey, what do you say, friends and neighbors? Here we are on a great big Monday, June 8th. Good to see you. Hope you're enjoying the show. And we are jumping into the second week of our pledge drive. And I got a real challenge to you. I mean, first of all, if you have already made your pledge, we appreciate it. We thank you. But here's my beef with you today. If you haven't already made your pledge, why not? Come on. Don't be a freeloader. Don't just sit back, enjoy all the benefits of Free Speech TV without helping pay the freight here, because that's not how it works. We are in this together. Our obligation, the entire Free Speech TV team here, our show, Stephanie Miller, Tom Hartman, David Packman, Amy Goodman, and all the rest, we are here to bring you the very best in commentary and analysis every single day from a progressive point of view, of course. And your job is to help make it possible. You know how it works? We tell you over and over again. There would not be any Free Speech TV if it weren't for you. Our viewers are what keep Free Speech TV on the air. No corporate money, no Koch brothers money, no government money. We don't pay our guests. We depend entirely on our viewers, so we really need you to step up to the plate and do it today. Any gift, any pledge, we appreciate. We particularly ask you to consider $60. We can do $60. We'll send you this great little stamp that says not to be used for bribing politicians. Put that on your checks, put that on your dollar bills or whatever. If you can come help us with $120, we'll send you a copy of a great book by John Nichols, Dollarocracy, all about the evil of money in politics. We've interviewed John Nichols on the show here about the book. It's a great book. For $240, you get the stamp and the book by John Nichols. And for $360, you get that Don't Bribe the Politician stamp, the book by John Nichols, and a Free Speech TV baseball cap. And if you can really help us with $1,000, you've been fortunate enough as you've got that and appreciate Free Speech TV enough. Make that pledge for $1,000. Come to Washington, and Carol and I will meet up with you. We'll take you out to dinner. You come in and watch the show the next morning, meet the team. We'll get district donuts in. We'll have a good time. Make your pledge today. We really, really need you to know how to do it. The number is 877-378-8669. Number again, 877-378-8669. People standing by to take your calls. And Free Speech TV, always online at freespeech.org. But again, this is the important week, the second week. Pardon me. Got to get it done. Don't be a freeloader. Step up to the plate. Make your pledge today to Free Speech TV. Keep this great thing we've got going, and we couldn't do it without you. Thank you for your help.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
12 minutes now before the top of the hour on this Monday, June 8th. Good to see you today. Thank you so much for being with us as we cover the ballpark in terms of news of the day and politics of the day. On the political front, joining us from the National Journal Hotline, your best source for what's happening in politics at the state, local, and federal level, national level, Scott Bland, editor-in-chief of the Hotline. Hey, Scott, happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Yeah, so what was it, Roast and Ride, Joni Ernst out in Iowa. A few of the candidates showed up. Only one of them joined her on the motorcycle, though, right? It was Scott Walker?
I believe that's right, yes. And, we're starting to hear more and more. We're seeing in the numbers, we're seeing in events like this, the idea of Scott Walker as the favorite in Iowa starting to emerge. And again, just like we talk about the rest of the presidential election, the Republican primary coming up next year, when we do our power rankings, we're careful to note that in a lot of past Republican races, there's been one candidate who you would maybe bet against the field on, who you would take as the favorite over everyone else. There isn't really one of those candidates this year, but Walker is definitely kind of positioning himself as in Iowa as the guy to beat so far. And I think we saw that a little bit in the reception.
I don't get it. What's the appeal of Scott Walker in Iowa?
Well, first of all, he's from next door, and so the attention that he got, and there was a lot of it in 2012, especially during that recall, kind of has a way of filtering over. But also, he's from an evangelical family, and I believe his dad was a pastor, and so he's kind of well versed in speaking to those voters. He gave a big speech in January that was very well received at a evangelical event there. That kind of kick-started his rise up the polls a little bit, and he's fallen back a little bit from where he was, but crucially, he stepped forward from where he started in a big way.
Can we talk about how many points he's going to lose in Iowa because when he sat down to eat ribs, he put on a pair of white gloves to eat his ribs? Can we talk about how damaging that is?
No.
Yes.
No.
He put on a pair of gloves so that he wouldn't get his dainty hands dirty while he was eating ribs. I mean, if that's not a political gaffe, I don't know what is. No, but that happened.
Oh, I didn't see that. Oh,
yeah,
I didn't see that either.
He put on a pair of white gloves.
I want to see that picture.
Yeah, I'll show you the picture.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you, I bet Mike Huckabee didn't do that.
No.
I bet Rick Perry didn't do that.
No, they know better. They know how to eat barbecue.
Yeah. But, Scott, you've also been looking at some Senate races, I understand, huh? According to the hotline.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Some big ones coming up, and talk about one in Wisconsin, of course. Yeah.
Oh, sure. And I think that's probably the number one Senate race in the country coming up in 2016. Russ Feingold is making a comeback bid after losing to Republican Ron Johnson in 2010. And he was out there at the State Democratic Convention this past week. Basically, this is the top Senate race. If Russ Feingold can't beat Ron Johnson, Democrats can kiss the Senate goodbye. They have a pretty good shot at challenging for, there's a bunch of blue states up. After Wisconsin, you've got Illinois, you've got Pennsylvania, you've got a host of swing states like New Hampshire, Ohio, North Carolina, Florida, that are up that have Republican senators or Republican-held open seats that they're going to have to defend. But Wisconsin is right up there in terms of the top priority for Democrats.
And so he's making a comeback. There's talk about Kay Hagan maybe in North Carolina?
There is, and Democrats are really kind of circling around the idea at this point that Hagan, it might be Hagan or bust in North Carolina, which is very interesting because her poll numbers are still really suffering from that tough race that she had against Tom Tillis in 2014. Lot of money spent against her. She was Americans for Prosperity's top target. She was Crossroads' top target. She just took a real hammering, and her image is still suffering. But the fact is that Democrats don't really have a bench there, and Hagan is a really good fundraiser, and the party is already kind of really looking to her to try and come back and make that seat competitive against Senator Richard Burr in 2016. Chuck Schumer has already spoken to her, and we'll probably see what happens.
Yeah, a lot of people we gotta remember that it's not just the White House in 2016. It's the House, which is probably an impossible shot, but getting the Senate back will be just as important. And we'll be watching all those races again with your help, Scott. Thanks so much, Scott Bland, editor-in-chief of the National Journal Hotline at nationaljournal.com.
This is the Bill Press Show.
What gets you into college? Good SAT scores? High GPA? Lots of extracurriculars?
Sure, but what you really need is money.
If you don't have the cash, you'll need a loan.
And we mean huge student loans because the cost of college has risen 1,000% in the last 30 years.
This means big money for the banks that collect fees and interest.
Now, millions of young people are starting their adult lives with an average of $29,000 of loans on their backs.
Altogether, we're talking $1.2 trillion in student debt.
And more people are finding it impossible to pay them back. Welcome to the student debt crisis.
The increasing demand for higher education and cuts to state funding gave colleges a huge incentive to keep inflating prices.
I graduated about a year ago, currently in $35,000 of debt.
I am in debt about like $25,000.
I owe $23,000.
I owe over $50,000 in student loans.
38.8 million Americans owe money on a student loan.
And the biggest names in banking are making huge profits off the booming student loan industry. Sallie Mae, the largest provider of private student loans, made $949 million last year.
They only give you about 6 months to look for a job. You have to start paying back the loan. It's very pressuring, especially nowadays. It's very hard to find a job.
Over half of the students graduating in 2012 could not find a decent paying job.
They either had low-wage jobs or unpaid internships or were unemployed altogether.
So you can't make the payments. You start incurring late fees, which makes the loan even harder to pay off.
And it stays with you for years, even decades.
Right now, a third of the people who started repaying their loans are delinquent or in default.
That's 13.7 million people, more than the populations of Chicago, New York, and San Francisco combined.
Worse, it's not just the borrowers who are in trouble. Many loans require co-signers.
So if the student is unable to pay, that co-signer, a father, a mother, or a grandparent, is now on the hook.
Even a grandparent's Social Security benefits can be garnished to pay the loan.
We should have an answer to this. If you get really behind in your car payment or your credit cards, you can file for bankruptcy.
But Congress has made it nearly impossible to discharge student loans through bankruptcy.
Big institutions make big profits while students try to make ends meet under crushing debt.
Is this how we want our education system to work?
The whole point of going to college is to get the career you want, but lately that's been discouraged because no one can afford school. You get a job just to pay off your student loans.
We need higher education, not higher debt.
Sign up to end the student debt crisis at higherednotdebt.org.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Jim Scuitto from CNN, a former colleague of mine, joins us at the top of the next hour. Here, Peter?
Just to expand on this Scott Walker story that I was just mentioning.
The white gloves, I can't believe it.
All right, so here's the deal. When he was out there, he had these ribs. It's a giant plate of ribs.
Yeah.
And he put on these white latex gloves so that he wouldn't get his hands dirty. We tweeted out from our Twitter account, @BP Show. @BP Show. You could see the photo there. And Scott Walker talked a little bit more about his love of ribs because apparently he met his wife at a barbecue restaurant.
Were they both wearing white gloves?
No word on what they were wearing.
Does he wear white gloves when he has sex?
Oh my goodness.
I mean,
I'll bet he does.
Maybe black gloves.
Maybe. I bet he keeps his socks on too.
Yeah.
I know he's a socker.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hey, what do you say, friends and neighbors? Here we are on a great big Monday, June 8th. Good to see you. Hope you're enjoying the show. And we are jumping into the second week of our pledge drive. And I got a real challenge to you. I mean, first of all, if you have already made your pledge, we appreciate it. We thank you. But here's my beef with you today. If you haven't already made your pledge, why not? Come on. Don't be a freeloader. You know, don't just sit back, enjoy all the benefits of Free Speech TV without helping pay the freight here, because that's not how it works. We are in this together. You know, our obligation, the entire Free Speech TV team here, you know, our show, Stephanie Miller, Tom Hartman, David Packman, Amy Goodman, and all the rest, we are here to bring you the very best in commentary and analysis every single day from a progressive point of view, of course. And your job is to help make it possible. You know how it works? We tell you over and over again. There would not be any Free Speech TV if it weren't for you. Our viewers are what keep Free Speech TV on the air. No corporate money, no Koch brothers money, no government money. We don't pay our guests. We depend entirely on our viewers. So we really need you to step up to the plate and do it today. Any gift, any pledge, we appreciate. We particularly ask you to consider $60. We can do $60. We'll send you this great little stamp that says not to be used for bribing politicians. Put that on your checks, put that on your dollar bills or whatever. If you can come help us with $120, we'll send you a copy of a great book by John Nichols, Dollarocracy, all about the evil of money and politics. We've interviewed John Nichols on the show here about the book. It's a great book. For $240, you get the stamp and the book by John Nichols. And for $360, you get that Don't Bribe the Politicians stamp, the book by John Nichols, and a Free Speech TV baseball cap. And, you know, if you can really help us with $1,000, you've been fortunate enough as you've got that and appreciate Free Speech TV enough. Make that pledge for $1,000. Come to Washington. And Carol and I will meet up with you. We'll take you out to dinner. You come in and watch the show the next morning, meet the team. We'll get district donuts in. We'll have a good time. Make your pledge today. We really, really need you to know how to do it. The number is 877-378-8669. Number again, 877-378-8669. People standing by to take your calls. And Free Speech TV, always online at freespeech.org. But again, this is the important week, the second week. Pardon me. Got to get it done. Don't be a freeloader. Step up to the plate. Make your pledge today to Free Speech TV. Keep this great thing we've got going, and we couldn't do it without you. Thank you for your help.
We came here to Foster City, where we're going to watch UC Berkeley, a University of California SWAT team, do a hostage rescue scenario.
Should I put the water in there now?
Yeah, go ahead. So this is like some kind of chemical agent?
Yeah. Copy, we're ready. I'm gonna get shot. I already know it, dude. Fiend's yelling at me.
Gentlemen, we have a chemical. We need to pull our person out. Get these guys out of here. Pull them out. Pull them out. Pull them out. Put your hands on your face. Put your hands on your face. Keep him covered.
Your head up. He's got a shotgun back there.
That's all right. Keep his hands up where we can.
Hands on your face.
Hands on your face.
On your face.
On your face.
Someone cover me. I got a holster up, bro.
Okay, pull him around the corner. Pick him up. Get him out of the building. quickly. Pull them out of the room. We're exfilling, Billy? Yes, we are exfilling.
It was actually around 92, 94. There was an attack on the chancellor at his residence, which is on campus. And we realized at the time that we didn't have any resources to deal with that kind of threat when it took place. So, and I think about 15 years before, they had some kind of semblance of a SWAT team. So they regenerated the idea of activating a SWAT team.
And then since then, you guys have kind of branched out to doing what kind of stuff?
Well, since then, we train for everything. We train for every eventuality, barricaded subjects. Like I said, most of what we do is high-risk warrants.
And it's something like it could be like a mugging kind of thing, just like on the street.
Depends.
Or
I mean, a mugging, but if it's armed, particularly.
Right, an armed mugging.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Okay. And then obviously we're looking for training for anything else. That we might be faced with, and that's what's great about Urban Shield is we couldn't duplicate this on our own.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Triple Crown. What's the big deal? We do a Triple Crown every day. 3 hours.
Everyone a winner.
Just call me American Pharaoh. Hey, hello, everybody. What do you say? It is Monday, June 8th. Good to see you today. Thank you for being part of the program. As we come out to you from Washington, D.C., our studio on Capitol Hill, reach out to you across this great land of ours on your local progressive talk radio station, first and foremost, and also looking at you on Free Speech TV. You've got DirecTV, the Dish Network, on your satellite dish. Here we are. Great to see you today with lots to talk about, and we appreciate you joining us and look forward to hearing from you at 866-55-PRESS. On Twitter, at BP Show, send us your comments. And on Facebook, your comments, welcome, at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. With Team Press here, Peter Ogburn and Elisa Murphy. Hello, hello.
Hello, Bill.
Hey, happy Monday.
Whole new week here. Jamie Benson on the phones, ready to take your calls at 866-55-PRESS. And Cyprian Bolding, our videographer, on the job as well. President Obama, his second day at the G7 summit over in Germany. He started out getting together with Chancellor Angela Merkel yesterday morning in Kranish, Germany. And they took a little walk around town, and then they stopped for a beer. And the president said, of course.
There's never a bad day for a beer, and vice versa.
Right, never a bad day for a beer. And I saw on the Drudge Report the president drinking his beer, and that's what's the president doing drinking beer at 11 a.m.? And I thought to myself, why so late?
Why the late start?
Right. I mean, we drink beer around here at sometimes 8:30.
8:30 in the morning.
Yeah. Right. So
come on.
Yeah. 11 a.m. I thought he showed a lot of restraint waiting until 11 o'clock. A lot coming up here. Jim Scuitto, good friend, former colleague from CNN, will be joining us here at the top of this hour. We'll also be joined by a reporter for the Boston Globe and former Secretary of Defense, William Cohen, coming up in our third hour together today. We'll get right to the news of the day, but first...
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news just in time for breakfast, Bill. Here's this story. Beginning next month, Taco Bell is going to offer up a new delicacy.
Oh, yeah. It seems like every week there's something new from Taco Bell.
I've got this beat on lockdown, Bill. I always like to pay attention to what the fast food places are offering. You can soon experience Taco Bell's Captain Crunch donut holes. What is a Captain Crunch donut hole?
At Taco Bell you're talking about?
At Taco Bell. Well, they're serving more and more breakfast now. You know, they've got these biscuit tacos, which I've never had and can't say that you should try, but they're going to be offering Captain Crunch Delights. They are sweet donut holes filled with creamy milk icing and enrobed in a layer of Captain Crunch berry cereal crumbs. So it's like a donut hole that they fry with the icing inside, and they just roll in Captain Crunch crumbs. It's crusted in.
Thank you. One more reason not to go to Taco Bell.
You could buy them beginning July 2nd.
No, thank you.
2 of them for $1.
No, thank you.
Because God bless America. A Honolulu-bound jetliner had to divert to LAX yesterday because the toilets were malfunctioning. The flight took off from Dallas, was on its way to Honolulu, but it had to go to LAX around noon yesterday. They have 6 toilets on board the Boeing 767, and 3 of them weren't working. So that was enough to make them actually stop the plane, reboard everybody onto a different plane. It was a total nightmare, but they said they weren't going to make it all the way to Honolulu with only 3 bathrooms.
That's a long flight, let me tell you.
Yeah, so that just wasn't...
Done it many times.
Wasn't going to happen.
Potty break.
Yeah, and we've talked about this a couple of times about putting a woman on the $20 bill.
Yeah.
This has been going on for quite some time. Petition has been put up, and a lot of people have signed on to it. They took a vote. Now, politicians are getting involved. Several female senators have sent a letter to President Obama to make the move to put a woman on the $20 bill. Senators Jeanne Shaheen, Mazie Hirono, Dianne Feinstein, and a couple of men got on board too, including Dick Durbin, Angus King, Sheldon Whitehouse. They urged the president to begin the process of selecting a woman to replace Andrew Jackson on the $20 bill. No word yet from the president as to whether or not he's going to do that.
Who are we talking about?
Harriet Tubman was at the top of the poll that people had to put her on the list. Hillary Clinton was also a little bit further on down the list.
No way.
A little too soon to be doing that. But Harriet Tubman was number 1 when they had this vote.
Mother Jones, man. I'm from Mother Jones.
Good idea.
If not Mother Love.
Mother Love. Mother Love. Bring her back.
Yeah, that's right. Bring her back. All right, 11 minutes after the hour. President Obama at the G7 in Germany talking about Ukraine and about Iran and about ISIS, among other hot topics, covering national security issues for CNN, chief national security correspondent. And I had a good 6 years at CNN, and one of my colleagues there who's still turning it out every day for CNN, Jim Scuitto, joins us on our newsline this morning. Hey, Jim, how are you?
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Haven't seen you in a long time. Good to talk. Let's talk first of all about NSA. What real changes are we going to see in NSA's bulk phone collection program because of this legislation that was passed and signed into law by the president?
Well, the most basic change is where does this phone metadata live? So it had lived, in effect, in the government's hands at the NSA, so now it will stay at the telephone companies. They will hold on to it, hold on to the records, and then the government would have to petition for access to particular phone records. If they have a person of interest overseas who's dialed someone in the U.S., they would ask for that information. And this was one of the recommendations going back to the president's Intel Reform Panel more than a year ago, one of 50-some-odd recommendations, and that's really the major one affecting the thing that was most controversial about the program.
One of the things that I'm curious about, Jim, that I haven't heard anybody talk about is, NSA was building this huge data center out in maybe Nevada or out in the West somewhere to store all this data. What happens to that now?
Well,
you know what I'm talking about? Remember that big building?
No, I do. And listen, you have a number of these centers around the country where they analyze communications and they look for particular words and phrases and this kind of thing. So, in effect, the phone companies will do the holding now. From a practical perspective, it's not an enormous difference because they will still have access to the information. I think part of it is a principled perspective that it won't be in government's hands. It'll remain in private hands, and that'll make some people feel more comfortable. I think it's a practical matter. Won't make an enormous amount of difference.
How long do the phone companies hold the data? Forever?
5-6 years, something in that range, and it's so it's something that they would have held for shorter. Now they hold for longer, and it gives the government time that they would need.
Right.
To go after particular calls.
One way of looking at this vote is that I think I did the math the other day. I think it's 430. If 405. If you count members of the Senate who voted for this legislation and members of the House, it's 405 out of 535 members of Congress voted in effect to say that Edward Snowden was right, NSA was wrong, and doing what they were doing. That hasn't changed the official government attitude toward Edward Snowden, has it?
It hasn't. This is a remarkable period in the last couple of years when you think about it. Someone who illegally accessed these systems, exposed them to the world, and, well, of course, and now is living and taking refuge in Russia. That a lot of the things he highlighted have become law. And clearly, despite his method, he struck a chord. He struck a chord with Americans, with members of the public, but also with members of Congress. And frankly, when you look at the recommendations of the Intel Reform Panel, convened by the president himself, the members chosen by the president himself, on a lot of these issues, they agreed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, absolutely. But and I've raised this issue at the most recent White House briefing, and the answer always is he's charged with criminal acts, and he should be brought back to this country and have to face the music, basically. There's no interest, I think, on the part of the White House to reassess their attitude toward Snowden. But I want to move on and ask you. I looked at your website this morning. I was surprised at how many different stories you've got up that are all about China. I mean, we're at odds with China on many different fronts. Most recently, this latest hacking incident.
No question. This is a major issue, and I think to be framed, it's got to be looked at as Chinese government policy. These hacks do not happen as bad behavior by individual actors. This is part of a Chinese national strategy, and it spans military secrets and government secrets to business secrets. There's tens of billions of dollars a year, it's estimated, loss of American intellectual property to Chinese hacking. Mm-hmm. And now you have a new, really, it didn't start yesterday, but it's a new phenomenon over the last couple of years, where China appears to be building, in effect, a database of Americans. And the one last week affected some 4 million federal employees, current and former. The concern now is that it also exposed private citizens. One, because they think the same Chinese hackers were behind the attack on Anthem health insurance a few months back. But also there's concern that some of the data that they took from federal employees also affects private citizens, particularly from the records that you submit for your security clearances. So this is, and it's still a question as to what they want to do exactly with all this information. I've spoken to a number of experts who say that the concern is they want to use this to stage further attacks, because if you can impersonate a government employee, it's a heck of a lot easier to get inside the system.
Oh, okay. Now, that was going to be my next question to you. What the hell are they going to do? I mean, they've got information on 4 million employees, a lot of them from the Interior Department, other federal agencies. I mean, a lot of that's private information, I guess, right? Birthday,
there's no question. It gives them two paths in. One, if you want to stage an insider attack, in quotes, heck of a lot easier to impersonate an insider with the information you have. But you can also fool these folks with spear phishing attacks where you have enough information about them that they think when you're reaching out to them that you're a friend or a colleague or an employer, and you click on that link. I mean, we've all gotten these before. I'm sure you've gotten them as well. They try to get you to click on the link, the malware is inserted into your computer, and then they have to run up your computer system. So I mean, the scale of it is just an order of magnitude bigger than anything we've seen from China or anywhere in the past.
Right. What is the current status of our efforts against ISIS? It seems to have stalled, and maybe we're just not paying as much attention to it. But are airstrikes continuing? Are they effective? Is ISIS losing ground? What's going on? Airstrikes are continuing. The effective question is a fair one. One thing we do every month at CNN is I look at the map of ISIS-controlled areas, and we throw them up on the screen, and that map has not changed for 3 months. And during that time, you've had ISIS make some alarming gains. They took Ramadi. It's the largest city in western Iraq, 60 miles from Baghdad. They've been back and forth on the Baiji oil refinery, which is a key piece of infrastructure.
the campaign combined with your ground action, right, which is basically the Iraqis and the Kurds, it's pretty much put it at a stalemate with ISIS. And that's an alarming stage to be at nearly a year into the campaign. Right. Something's not working.
So the strategy, and again, I heard President Obama tell us in the briefing room at the White House, right, the strategy, we do the airstrikes, and then, but airstrikes alone won't work. We're going to have the ground forces, and the ground forces won't be U.S. troops. They're going to be the Iraqi military and the trained, rearmed, moderate Syrian rebels, right? How's that going, Jim?
They're 90 so far. It's from the announcement of that camp, there were 90 that have been trained, about a company-sized division. They're going to have another 90, in a couple of weeks' time. The aim was to have 5,000 in the first year, but it took them a long time to get started because they were vetting all these groups. And listen, no one involved in that conflict thinks that this group is going to change the calculus on the ground. I mean, the momentum has been taken by ISIS, not just against the moderate rebels, but against Assad. I mean, there's real concern that Assad forces are getting pushed back. And granted, no one loves Assad, but the fear is if he collapses, you then have ISIS and friends, and Iran, frankly, and others holding more influence there. And you have another, failed state.
And can we count on the Iraqi military at all?
Less probably, and less immediately than many hoped. There are real problems there, and you saw it in Ramadi. There are some divisions that do well. They've got a special forces, the Golden Division, as it's called, that has done well. But it raises real questions about leadership because they'll say the forces are trained well, but they don't want to fight for leaders they don't trust, and who would, frankly? And you have real doubts among the non-Shiites as to whether the government Baghdad represents them. So the practical question is, who wants to fight and die for a government that they don't think is looking out for them? And it's a real question going forward.
Oh man, there's so many questions about that whole operation. I don't know how you do it. Jim, you do such a great job keeping on top of all of this. We didn't even get to Iran, but we're sort of out of time here. But it's great to reconnect with you. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Absolutely enjoyed it.
Jim Scuitto, Chief National Security Correspondent over at CNN. Been there a long time.
Yeah.
He's been hanging in there and really knows his stuff.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, what do you say, friends and neighbors? Here we are on a great big Monday, June 8th. Good to see you. Hope you're enjoying the show. And we are jumping into the second week of our pledge drive. And I got a real challenge to you. I mean, first of all, if you have already made your pledge, we appreciate it. We thank you. But here's my beef with you today. If you haven't already made your pledge, why not? Come on. Don't be a freeloader. Don't just sit back, enjoy all the benefits of Free Speech TV without helping pay the freight here, because that's not how it works. We are in this together. Our obligation, the entire Free Speech TV team here, our show, Stephanie Miller, Tom Hartman, David Packman, Amy Goodman, and all the rest, we are here to bring you the very best in commentary and analysis every single day from a progressive point of view, of course. And your job is to help make it possible. You know how it works? We tell you over and over again. There would not be any Free Speech TV if it weren't for you. Our viewers are what keep Free Speech TV on the air. No corporate money, no Koch brothers money, no government money. We don't pay our guests. We depend entirely on our viewers. So we really need you to step up to the plate and do it today. Any gift, any pledge, we appreciate. We particularly ask you to consider $60. You can do $60. We'll send you this great little stamp that says not to be used for bribing politicians. Put that on your checks, put that on your dollar bills or whatever. If you can come help us with $120, we'll send you a copy of a great book by John Nichols, Dollarocracy, all about the evil of money and politics. We've interviewed John Nichols on the show here about the book. It's a great book. For $240, you get the stamp and the book by John Nichols. And for $360, you get that Don't Bribe the Politician stamp, the book by John Nichols, and a Free Speech TV baseball cap. And if you can really help us with $1,000, you've been fortunate enough as you've got that, and appreciate Free Speech TV enough. Make that pledge for $1,000. Come to Washington, and Carol and I will meet up with you. We'll take you out to dinner. You come in and watch the show the next morning. Meet the team. We'll get District Donuts in. We'll have a good time. Make your pledge today. We really, really need you to know how to do it. The number is 877-378-8669. Number again, 877-378-8669. People standing by to take your calls. And Free Speech TV, always online at freespeech.org. But again, this is the important week, the second week. Pardon me. Got to get it done. Don't be a freeloader. Step up to the plate. Make your pledge today to Free Speech TV. Keep this great thing we've got going, and we couldn't do it without you. Thank you for your help.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
26 minutes after the hour. At the top of the next hour, we'll talk to Michael Kranish from the Boston Globe here, actually in studio with us. Very, very moving tribute for the last 3 days of last week, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, for Beau Biden, the son of Vice President Joe Biden, who was taken from us so suddenly at the young age of 46. An outstanding individual. Beautiful tributes, first in Dover, Delaware on Thursday, where the former Attorney General lay in state in the state capitol. Friday, where he lay in state at St. Anthony of Padua Church in Wilmington, Delaware, and that's where the funeral was held on Saturday. Moving tributes from General Ray Odierno, from Beau's sister Ashley, his brother Hunter, especially from the President of the United States, who started out just summing up what Beau Biden was all about.
Beau Biden was an original. He was a good man, a man of character, a man who loved deeply and was loved in return.
And the president says the real test is, with our brief time on Earth here, whether we make any difference. And Beau Biden certainly passed that test.
The only thing we can hope for is that our children make us proud by making a difference in the world. Beau has done that and then some.
Yes, indeed. God bless him, his memory, the Biden family, and all of us who knew him. What a powerful, powerful ceremony on Saturday, and starting with that, the singing of Bring Him Home from Les Mis as the family walked into the church. There was not a dry eye from that time on until 3 hours later when it ended.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, folks, just a little time out. Hope you're enjoying the show today. A little time out here to tell you again and get your about Free Speech TV and get your help. And, we reach out to you, all of our viewers around the country, during these pledge drives, ask you to help. And we're so grateful when you do. And it's very rare, though. We get a chance to thank one of you actually in person. So we welcome to the show today and to our studio Craig Tepfer, all the way from Chelsea, Michigan, a regular Free Speech viewer and a very generous contributor to Free Speech. Craig, it's good to see you.
It's good to be here, Bill.
Thank you for coming in all the way from Chelsea, Michigan. I know last year we met because you were made a $1,000 pledge. You and your daughter came. Carol and I, we all went out to dinner together, had a good time. That was a lot of fun.
Had a great time.
Right. And it's good to see you back. So tell us again, why do you really like Free Speech TV?
Free speech to me is the dream come true. It's television without commercials, plain and simple.
Yeah. And you like the people and obviously in the content on Free Speech?
All of the regular programs plus all of the special programs you can't find anyplace else on the television set.
It's the one progressive television channel people don't realize is maybe in the country, right? 24/7, where you can always count on going there and hearing good stuff from a progressive point of view.
This is true. It's 24 hours a day. All of the programs are great to watch, intellectually stimulating, and have great progressive concepts.
Well, we wouldn't be here without people like you, and I want to thank you again personally. And you're back today because you want to make another pledge and challenge people to meet it, right?
That's right. I would like to pledge a half of my net worth, 0.5% of my net worth, to match the Koch brothers' donation to the GOP. So I am committing $500.
Great.
To the Free Speech TV, and hope that your listeners can match that.
I think that's a great challenge, all right? So there you go. There's $500 from Craig Tepfer today. You can match that yourself or a couple of you, 2 or 3 of you. Get together, get your family members together, and match this pledge so Craig doesn't feel alone. And we have the help we need on Free Speech to get going. And, of course, you know the way to do so, Craig, you certainly do, is give us a call at 877-378-8669. Number again, 877-378-8669. Or just go to freespeech.org, freespeech.org. And, Craig, the other thing I want to congratulate you on, you are a pioneer in solar energy. I know you have a solar-powered car right now. So you're doing so many great things. You know,
I've been doing this for most of my life, wind and solar energy, and supporting environmental groups and organizations that promote solar energy.
Well, so good of you to do that, and so good of you to come in. And thanks again for your help for Free Speech TV. And match Craig Tepfer's $500 grant. Thank you, Craig.
It's so important. Thank you.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
Make it 33 minutes after the hour. Monday, June 8th, The Bill Press Show, live from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., brought to you today by the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. We all live better because of the good work of the men and women of the Teamsters Union under President Jim Hoffa. And you can find out more about their good work at, their website, teamster.org. Yes, indeed. Good to have you with us today, and a lot of news to talk about. One big event coming up 10 days from today. It's already starting to generate a lot of buzz, a lot of excitement, and that is the long-anticipated encyclical on climate change to be released on June 18, we're told now, by Pope Francis. It is not the Pope's first encyclical. I think it's his second. But the fact that he's going to talk about climate change talk about climate change as a real, serious problem that we must take seriously, and that we have here, the key words, a moral obligation to do something about, has driven some conservatives, is driving some conservatives crazy. Some of the American bishops have said, no, the Pope shouldn't be talking about this. This is political. Some leading Republicans are very upset about it because of Marco Rubio, for example, and others, climate deniers. And among them is Rick Santorum, who doesn't know enough to keep his mouth shut, right? I mean, prides himself on being Mr. Catholic, Mr. Morality on every issue. And to have the Pope take a position he doesn't agree with, is just something he can't stand. On Don Giordano's radio show up in Philadelphia the other day, Rick Santorum said, basically, the Pope ought to keep his nose out of this.
The church has gotten it wrong a few times on science, and I think that we probably are better off leaving science to the scientists and focusing on what we do, what we're really good at, which is theology and morality.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So the Pope should only talk about theology and morality, and only the scientists should talk about the climate change. Yeah. Well, let me point out, first of all, and Rick Santorum should know this, that the Pope does happen to be a scientist.
Which is just beautifully stupid that Rick Santorum would even go there.
Right. He does have a degree in chemistry. That's his training, okay? I'm sure he also has a degree in theology, but so he knows what he's talking about, number one. Number two, and Rick Santorum certainly ought to know this, popes have always addressed in encyclicals some of the most important issues facing humankind at the time. Pius XII put out an encyclical condemning the Nazi invasion of Hungary. Paul VI had an encyclical about the immorality of the Vietnam War, why it was wrong. Leo XIII famously, with Rerum Novarum, in the late 19th century, came out with an encyclical that still is cited today, where he underscored the importance of workers being able to form a union, that was an obligation, something the Catholic Church had a moral obligation to support, and that workers had a right to a living wage. That's the official doctrine, if you will, of the Catholic Church. Okay? What about that, Rick Santorum? And Chris, so he's just dead wrong on this. Of course, as a Pope has a right, and I would say even an obligation, which he is taking advantage of, to speak about climate change, because it is one of the most, the base, what it really gets to, and that's, I'm sure, what the Pope is going to say in his encyclical, that we who are here inhabiting God's creation, this Garden of Eden that he created for us, we have a responsibility of stewardship toward the planet, toward the environment, to take care of it and not to destroy it. He didn't put us here to wreck the garden. He put us here to care for the garden. And so the fact that the Pope shouldn't speak about this, well, I thought Chris Wallace on Fox News yesterday, Fox News Sunday, really asked the right question to Rick Santorum. What do you mean? Okay. So if it's not okay for the Pope, it's okay for you, dumb... Never mind.
Yeah,
yes, go ahead.
I guess the question would be, if he shouldn't talk about it, should you?
Well, we have to make public policy with regard to the environmental policy.
But you're not a scientist. You said leave science to the scientists.
But the point is that politicians, whether we like it or not, people in government have to make decisions with respect to our public policy that affect American workers.
Oh, I see. So it's okay for politicians to talk about climate change and be wrong, right? But it's not okay for the Pope to talk about it. And he goes on to say, by the way, well, this, I didn't really follow him here, but he's trying to make the point with Chris Wallace. But this isn't really all that important an issue.
The administration is now proposing this ozone regulation that will simply shut down any manufacturing expansion in this country.
He would say he's protecting the earth.
I would say that that's an important thing to do, but I think there are more pressing problems confronting the earth than climate change.
What? There are more pressing problems confronting the earth. I'd like to know what they are.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Name one, idiot. Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, it is the most serious environmental problem, which really could change everything about where we live, what we eat, what crops we grow, what diseases we get. I mean, you've seen, and it's already happening. Already happening.
You remember...
And these idiots who deny it.
You remember it was a couple years ago when Al Gore won the Nobel Peace Prize, which people laughed at, but then they explained climate change is such a serious issue that if we don't get control of it, it's going to look like the Mad Max movie, right? War, famine, no crops, lawlessness. I mean, I know that that's obviously dragging this out to an extreme, but it's also not impossible. It could very well happen.
Here's what I think Rick Santorum realizes, and other climate deniers, again, like Marco Rubio, is what the Pope, by the Pope issuing this encyclical. I love your take on this, by the way, 866-55-PRESS, and what this means. Yeah, there are 1.2 billion Catholics on the planet, okay, out of 7.4 billion people or whatever. Well, that's a pretty good slice of humankind. But encyclicals like this, they'll have an impact not just on Catholics. And what the Pope is not just saying Catholics have to take climate change seriously. He's saying everybody does. That humankind, it's our responsibility as people on this planet to take this seriously. And certainly everybody of faith has to take it seriously. And what he's really saying by making this subject of an encyclical is it is a moral obligation to do something about climate change. By the way, the timing for this encyclical could not be more important with this climate change summit coming up in December in Paris, which President Obama and President Hollande talked about today at their little tete-a-tete in Germany. So the Pope's timing is perfect, and his message is really going to be powerful. I mean, so we have a moral obligation, or to take the flip side of that, for politicians like Rick Santorum and Jim Inhofe and Marco Rubio and others to deny climate change and to block any effort to do something about climate change is not only wrong, it is immoral. It puts that stamp on it. It's immoral, which means it's a sin, which means it's wrong, which means they could burn in hell for not doing anything about it. That's the problem that Rick Santorum has. This man who his whole political career has been, he's on his pedestal, his high horse, saying, I know more about these moral issues than everybody else, right? Man on dog, sex, the whole thing, right? Yeah, I mean, he's always had...
He's been so great on the issues of science in the past.
Oh, yeah, right. So great on it. And this is a huge... This is a total repudiation of everything that Rick Santorum stands for. Good for the Pope. 866-55-PRESS. Should he be talking about climate change? Is he right that it's our moral obligation to take it seriously? We'll be right back. Hey, what do you say, friends and neighbors? Here we are on a great big Monday, June 8th. Good to see you. Hope you're enjoying the show. And we are jumping into the second week of our pledge drive. And I got a real challenge to you. I mean, first of all, if you have already made your pledge, we appreciate it. We thank you. But here's my beef with you today. If you haven't already made your pledge, why not? Come on. Don't be a freeloader. Don't just sit back, enjoy all the benefits of Free Speech TV without helping pay the freight here, because that's not how it works. We are in this together. Our obligation, the entire Free Speech TV team here, our show, Stephanie Miller, Tom Hartman, David Packman, Amy Goodman, and all the rest, we are here to bring you the very best in commentary and analysis every single day from a progressive point of view, of course. And your job is to help make it possible. You know how it works? We tell you over and over again. There would not be any Free Speech TV if it weren't for you. Our viewers are what keep Free Speech TV on the air. No corporate money, no Koch brothers money, no government money. We don't pay our guests. We depend entirely on our viewers. So we really need you to step up to the plate and do it today. Any gift, any pledge, we appreciate. We particularly ask you to consider $60. We can do $60. We'll send you this great little stamp that says not to be used for bribing politicians. Put that on your checks, put that on your dollar bills or whatever. If you can come help us with $120, we'll send you a copy of a great book by John Nichols, Dollarocracy, all about the evil of money and politics. We've interviewed John Nichols on the show here about the book. It's a great book. For $240, you get the stamp and the book by John Nichols. And for $360, you get that Don't Bribe the Politicians stamp, the book by John Nichols, and a Free Speech TV baseball cap. And, you know, if you can really help us with $1,000, you've been fortunate enough as you've got that and appreciate Free Speech TV enough. Make that pledge for $1,000. Come to Washington. And Carol and I will meet up with you. We'll take you out to dinner. You come in and watch the show the next morning, meet the team. We'll get district donuts in. We'll have a good time. Make your pledge today. We really, really need you to know how to do it. The number is 877-378-8669. Number again, 877-378-8669. People standing by to take your calls. And Free Speech TV, always online at freespeech.org. But again, this is the important week, the second week. Pardon me. Got to get it done. Don't be a freeloader. Step up to the plate. Make your pledge today to Free Speech TV. Keep this great thing we've got going, and we couldn't do it without you. Thank you for your help.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is 14 minutes before the top of the hour. Michael Kranish from the Boston Globe joins us at the top of next hour in studio. And we send a big shout out and a big happy birthday to former First Lady Barbara Bush.
Yeah, that's right.
90 years young today, celebrating up in Kennebunkport with her family. And it's former President George H.W. Bush's birthday on Friday. So
wait.
Kind of a week-long.
Is he going to jump out of a plane?
Not this year.
Not this year?
No.
Not 91?
He'll be 91. The week-long family celebration up there. And first granddaughter, Jenna Bush, interviews her right in just a few minutes. We'll be interviewing her grandmother live on NBC today.
Let me tell you something. That is the greatest grift in all of journalism, to be Jenna Bush. Jenna Bush Hager, whose one job it appears to be to just interview her grandparents every year. That's like the only thing she does. What a gig.
I know.
Bring in Jenna Bush Hager to interview Gammy and Gampy every year.
I know.
Oh, boy.
But Ganny, I still love Ganny because it was some reporter said something one time to her about whether Jeb might run for president. And she said, I think America's all bushed out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
She has since taken that back, anyhow. But we've been talking about crazy Rick Santorum, who says he's attacking. Here you are. Let's pick an issue to run for president on. Okay, I'm going to run for president by attacking the Pope.
Yeah. As a Catholic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. This makes a lot of sense. Saying the Pope has no business talking about climate change. Robert, down in Lawrence, South Carolina. Hey, Robert, what do you say?
Well, your comment about how much Beau Biden's like Joe Biden. I want to make this comment that we live on through our posterity, and if we leave a planet that our children can't live on, are we not, in essence, committing suicide?
Yeah, or certainly not serving them well, indeed, Robert. And I'm sure that's a point that the Pope is going to make in his encyclical. And by the way, here's what I love about this. You remember the Pope's coming here in September, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And he's going to be addressing a joint session of Congress. And he's going to be up in front of all those climate deniers. And I'm willing to bet you money right now he's going to talk about climate change.
Throw it right in their face.
He's going to throw it right
Maybe
in
a
their
snowball, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Starting with John Boehner, who'll be sitting right in back of him, the man singularly responsible for no action on climate change. Judy is in Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Judy.
What do you say?
It's been a long time since I've heard that. But I was, back on climate change. I'm sure the dinosaurs didn't see that meteor coming, and
right.
But we're an intelligent species, and we can see what's happening, and we recognize that a lot of it is our responsibility, and we should have the intelligence to do something about it. And for people like Santorum and anybody else to stand up there, it's just playing to their base. They're being stupid, and we've got no choice but to act promptly and fast. I mean, it's all over but the fat lady singing if we don't.
Yeah. Jude, here's what gets me about this issue is that why should this even be a political issue or a partisan issue at all? I mean, we're all impacted by this, right? I mean, all of us, all of our kids, all of our grandkids. I mean, this is to survive. We're talking about the survival of the planet and everybody on it.
Yeah, it's so insane. When I see all of these issues coming up, save the polar bears, save the elephants, and I'm going, what are you talking about? Save the world,
Yeah, right. Let's start there. There, right? And again, I like you sometimes think that maybe it's even too late, but I don't want to believe that. There are certainly things we can do to slow it down, right? Maybe we don't bring the glaciers back, but maybe we can save Miami and New York from going under. Miami's. I mean,
Miami's already got real problems. Real problems.
They already have streets flooding in Miami because of the rise of sea levels today. Not just when there are storms, just on a normal day.
Louisiana's got a lot of problems. You look at what Louisiana used to look like compared to now, and a lot of those low-lying areas are being swallowed up.
I've seen stories about salesmen in Florida today. They carry galoshes, little boots with them in their car. They have to go in and out of stores or doctor's offices.
In Florida?
In Florida. Because as they travel, any day, they may not be able to get in there. Because of the flooding. Yeah. And idiot like Santorum says, no, Pope shouldn't be talking about this. How dare he talk about the survival of the planet, right? Pat's in Beloit, Wisconsin. Hello, Pat. How are you?
Hello. How are you this day?
Good. Everything's good.
It's a beautiful day in Wisconsin.
I'll bet. I hope. It'll be better if we get Scott Walker out of there.
Oh, yes. But I think this goes back to the Jewish book and the Christian book, which is the Old Testament, and it starts in the beginning.
Absolutely.
God created the world. Okay, so he created it because it was beautiful, and then he gave man dominion over all. Is that dominion to destroy or take care of the beautiful world he created?
You're absolutely right, Pat. Read the book of Genesis. It's all laid out there. Stewardship is the key word, right? That's what dominion means. So in other words, take care of this beautiful planet that I have created for you. The idea that God created, these people, they say they're believers in God, right? That he created the planet, and he what? So we could destroy it? No, hardly, right? Absolutely right. Read the book of Genesis over again, and maybe Rick Santorum's just never read that first book of the Old Testament.
You should go back and read it. Brush up on it a little bit.
Yes. Hey, Rick, take some advice from Brother Press here this morning. We'll be right back. President Obama, busy day, second day at the G7, and then winding his way home. We'll tell you all about it when we come back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
I'm the retired bishop with the Episcopal Church as the bishop for all chaplains in federal service. I read that there was a group of people that represented a sense of injustice that I had. We'd lost Scuitto. I mean, there was a kind of a hope that maybe Trinity Church would be gracious and give refuge. We picked this day where we would gather and demonstrate that Trinity was closing its ears to what was happening. We marched around the block, and I realized that, my goodness, they're carrying a ladder. And I thought, well, this is the moment. You could feel a spiritual presence. You could feel a certain something. And then the cops came in. It got brutal.
Yeah, I'm with you right here. Robin, I'm here.
The church needed, in this moment in history, to stand alongside of these protesters. The truth of Christ is found in the pews, is found in the institutional church, but it is also found on the streets. It's found in the honesty and the integrity, the insistence of people that you find in Occupy Wall Street.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
And online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Okay, President Obama finishing up the G7. So hard to keep track of this because the president, of course, is 5 or 6 hours ahead there in Germany. But he held a bilateral meeting this morning with President Hollande and then a G7 meeting on terrorism. They, of course, took the family photo, and then the president had a working lunch. He holds a bilateral meeting with the new Prime Minister, al-Abadi, from Iraq, and then a news conference this afternoon before he takes off from Germany, heading back to the United States, arriving back at the White House at 9:20 this evening. Michael Kranish from the Boston Globe joins us at the top of the next hour. And it's worth reporting that in the Wisconsin State Democratic Convention this weekend, they took a straw poll on presidential candidates. Hillary Clinton won with 49%, but Bernie Sanders came in second with 41%.
Whoa, look at Bernie.
Scared the hell out of Hillary in Wisconsin.
This is the Bill Press Show.
What they told us we were doing was going to rid the state of frivolous lawsuits. So we said, okay, let's vote for this.
Leading up to the 2003 effort in Texas, the insurance companies primarily, but also the medical industry, started this drumbeat. They were alleging that medical malpractice lawsuits were soaring and the cost of healthcare was going way up. And they barraged the citizens of Texas with these frightening, scary messages that we were in some sort of crisis. But the reality was that simply wasn't true.
One of the things I think the public doesn't fully understand is that lawsuits are about a lot more than just seeking compensation for an individual plaintiff. By giving damages to the individual, the jury is sending a message about safety to the doctors, the nurses, the hospital. Please change your ways. Make healthcare safer to protect all of us.
Bill and Kelly Putnam experienced a nightmare scenario. They're in the nursing home with their father. The nurse administers medication improperly. As a result, he started to choke on the medication, and Kelly was forced to provide CPR on her father while staff at the nursing home did nothing.
I was probably 6 inches away from my dad's eyes. He's no longer thrashing, he's no longer moving.
And so they took him to the hospital, they worked on him, cause of death, aspiration. Texas Board of Nursing ruled that the nurse not only did what we said she did, but she also said that the facility had her destroy the medical records for that day and create a new version. I decided to give a lawyer friend a call. I went through probably 10, maybe more. All of them I got the same letter back stating that because of tort reform, we cannot afford to litigate these types of cases.
What the 2003 restrictions did was make it economically unfeasible for most attorneys to take most medical malpractice cases. It's a cynical attempt to make it harder for people to go to court by making it harder for them to get representation.
I do remember when Patricia Whitman first contacted me, because as a cardiologist, I was pretty outraged when I looked at the medical records.
Patricia Whitman visited the emergency room complaining of chest pains. They look at her EKG. Doctor says, no, you've got indigestion, go home. The symptoms persist. Next day she goes in, sees a different physician. She's been having a heart attack.
Anyone looking at this EKG in a patient with chest pain has to consider that that patient is having an acute heart attack until proven otherwise. All of these abnormalities were essentially ignored, and a diagnosis of acid reflux was made in Patricia Whitman's case, and that was the wrong diagnosis.
The doctor came in and he said that I had substantial permanent heart damage and that I was, quote unquote, 100% disabled. Prior to the heart attack, I had a 3,500 square foot home that I took care of, and I was on my feet 8 hours a day going to cosmetology school. Then I would come home and cook for my kids and do whatever else needed to be done. I did it all. After the heart attack, I couldn't keep up with the house. I couldn't pay the mortgage. My life has changed a lot. I will never be able to do what I used to do. I have to depend on 5 heart medications that I have to take every day in order to survive. This is a letter from one attorney. It would be difficult to prove that the ER physician's conduct rose to the level of gross negligence. No attorney would take my case.
Tort reform involved a specific passage of language that said that a simple negligence standard no longer applied to emergency room care in Texas. The new standard was a gross negligence standard called willful and wanton negligence.
You have to prove in court that that doctor saw me walk through the door and said, That's my next victim. And of course, that doesn't happen. And so people like Patricia Whitman, who find themselves in the emergency room and are misdiagnosed or harmed, face almost no ability for accountability. If you look back and you break down the arguments made by the insurance companies and medical industry about the cost, quality, access of healthcare in Texas, by every metric, we're worse off today than we were 10 years ago. It has made life better and easier for a small group of corporate interests at the expense of the rest of us.
These corporations, they have no fear because they know that they're not going to be held responsible. It shouldn't be about money. But unfortunately, that's the only language these people speak. That's why we're out protesting.
We will stand out on the street in front of the facility with signs that state what happened and make sure that they understand that we're not going to go away and that what they did was wrong.
We must restore meaningful accountability in this state so that another family does not go through the same nightmare that they've been through. If enough people in the public say enough is enough, then politicians have to think twice. We're never going to be able to compete with the special interests in terms of campaign contributions and money. Where we have to compete with them is in boots on the ground. The more people that rise up and say, we want our rights back, then they have to think about it. And once we've made them think about it, then half the battle is won.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
The Triple Crown, we got it. 37 years in waiting, finally happened. Very exciting. Hello, everybody. Exciting program for you today here, too. The Bill Press Show. We are live in our nation's capital, as always, in our studio on Capitol Hill. Good to see you this Monday, June 8th. We're here with you on your local progressive talk radio station nationwide, coast to coast. Good to see you in Radio Land today. Also joining you, of course, on Free Speech TV. Got a satellite dish. We are there with you on the DirecTV and on the Dish Network. And worldwide, we welcome all of you watching on our video stream, youtube.com/TawkrTV. Hope you had a great weekend, ready to jump into another busy week and the big stories of the day. We'll tell you what's going on. You tell us what it means to you, what you think about it all. Just give us a call at 866-55-PRESS, or send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show, or on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow. Many ways that you can join the program and join the conversation at any time. And in fact, be a member of our team. Join the team, Peter Ogburn and Elisa Murphy, leading it up in studio.
Hello,
guys.
Bill.
Hey, good morning.
Here we are.
Good weekend?
Yes, indeed. Very good weekend.
Finally saw that movie, Woman in Gold.
Oh, yeah, sure.
With Helen Mirren.
Yeah.
Phenomenal
Was it good?
performance by her. Yeah. She won the Tony last night, too,
She sure did.
for the audience, her performance in the audience. Jamie Benson is on the phones, ready for your calls. 866-55-PRESS, and Cyprian Boulding, our videographer here, keeping us looking good on Free Speech TV and TawkrTV. On TawkrTV, that's right.
It.
Yep. And we're pleased to welcome to the studio from the Boston Globe and our Washington Bureau Deputy Chief for the Boston Globe here, Michael Kranish. Hello, Michael. Nice to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in today. Yep.
Sure.
Were you in front of the TV watching the Triple Crown on Saturday?
I was not.
Well, neither did I, but I've seen it so many times since. But
exciting finish.
It was an exciting finish, and there was no doubt about it. I mean, he put it away. 5.5 lengths, Triple Crown. Here's why I always my next life I want to be a sports announcer, Michael.
Presidential campaigns are not announced the same way. They tend to drag on.
And here's Saturday's call.
And now he's a length behind in second. And American Pharoah kicks away. And they're into the stretch. And American Pharoah makes his run for glory as they come into the final furlong. And here it is. The 37-year wait is over. American Pharoah is finally the one. American Pharoah has won the Triple Crown.
That's the the only time you could just really go totally uncorked. I bet he wasn't as excited when his first kid was born.
Never hear anybody yelling like that.
Oh, it's pretty exciting. And you're right. In talking politics, we don't get to do that, right?
No, it can take days.
Yeah. No,
Weeks.
that's right. And people are not as excited when they announce the next president of the United States.
What's your Wolf Blitzer call
exactly.
election results that way next year?
Well, it wouldn't
I'd
happen.
be a little bit more excited.
Michael's here with us for the first half hour, and then we'll be joined by former Defense Secretary William Cohen at the half hour to talk about foreign policy issues of the day, and also he has a new novel out as well. But first,
this is the Full Court Press
of the day.
Yes, indeed. Just a couple of other stories making news. How about this trend, Bill? You might not have heard of this. Men taking their wives' names after marriage. That is exactly what Zoe Saldana's husband, she's the actress, she married her husband, Marco Perrigo, a couple years ago, and she recently sat down with InStyle magazine and said that when they got married, he took her name, which is not something that you see. He said, if women take men's names.
But why not?
It's an outdated practice. I'm going to try and start taking my wife's name. So, congratulations to them, I guess.
You said you are?
No, that's what he said.
Oh,
that's what he said.
Okay. All right.
No.
Okay.
I'm not going to be doing that.
All right. But I've heard of the joining names, like double names, right? Just to get them both in there. But why not? I mean, it's not our age, right? Mm-hmm. But nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, go for it. Have fun. Today is the Worldwide Developers Conference for Apple, and we will be seeing something new from them.
Oh, no.
Although we don't know exactly what it's going to be. We'll have all the details tomorrow morning, of course. But for now, what the hell? Let's speculate. We could be seeing a new iPhone, although that's probably not likely. We will almost certainly see Apple's new music subscription service. They've been teasing this for quite some time since they bought Beats. The Beats by Dre company, to have something that can compete with Spotify. They also are expected to revamp iTunes Radio, and you're going to have some celebrity DJs. But as of now, there's no real hardcore, device or anything that's expected to be announced. Although they could do an iPad.
The last time they had this was the iPhone, right? Was it that they?
I guess the watch was the last.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean the iPhone. I meant the iWatch, right?
Okay, yeah. So I think that would be the.
Because you can't do one of those every year or every 6 months.
They're getting close to making another announcement about a phone. They usually do that in September, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. I think it's going to be fairly uneventful.
You got a mini iPad, right?
No watch.
I do. I have no watch.
But no watch. No.
I do use the iPad, mini iPad, yes.
The mini iPad.
Yes,
right.
very useful.
And for the first time ever, the first two games of the NBA Finals went to overtime. Last night, the Cleveland Cavaliers took the Golden State Warriors to overtime, where they won. Final score was 95-93. It was a rough night for NBA MVP Steph Curry. He was 2 for 15 from behind the three-point line, which is where he makes his money. He ended up scoring 19 points. Not a terrible outing for him, but it was not enough to beat LeBron James, who scored 39 points and was an absolute monster. Remember, he's playing with a lot of backups because Kyrie Irving is officially out of the series for the rest of the season, and also they're still playing without Kevin Love. So LeBron James got the team on his back. They managed to sneak one out, 95-93 in overtime.
Was it 7 games?
7 games, yes. So they're tied at 1 each.
And when's the next game?
They're going to Cleveland. I believe that is going to be tomorrow night. Although I could be wrong about that.
It's great series, as we thought it would be.
Yeah,
indeed.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Peter. Michael, so Boston is really back, isn't it?
Oh yeah, Boston. Where did it never left?
Never. But really, it's
a great town.
It's remarkable how the city has come back, and I guess the trial was another little trauma that people got over.
Well, it certainly tested the city greatly, and Boston Strong became the motto, and Boston showed its backbone time and again. There was a terrible incident last week where there was a person who killed. Was suspected of trying to kill someone, and he was killed himself by police Yeah, it's a very strong city, very strong region. Very proud to represent it as a reporter for the Boston Globe here in Washington.
And the Boston Globe, I must say, is an extraordinary paper. It's broken some really big stories and consistently been very strong.
Well, we're lucky. We have a very supportive owner, John Henry, who also owns the Red Sox, and he is very supportive of strong, deep journalism. So in Washington, for example, where I'm deputy bureau chief, we have a 6-person bureau. That's pretty unusual for a paper that's a regional newspaper. I've been here a long time.
It used to
these
be,
days.
Yeah, these days, right.
Yep.
Yeah.
There are other papers that might be similar in size. They have maybe one person or no people. It's extremely important, I think, that we have strong coverage of Washington officials, not just by the Washington Post and New York Times, but by other papers like the Boston Globe. And that's harder to see, but it's something that our paper has long believed in and still does.
When I first got here from California, the San Francisco Chronicle had a big bureau. I don't know, they may have had 6, 8, 10 people in it. I met with them several times, coming from California. And now if they have one, I'd be surprised.
Well, we have a unique situation with Massachusetts in that we've had this string of presidential candidates, for example. We've had a strong congressional delegation for years. Of course, used to have Senator Ted Kennedy, Senator John Kerry. And we had John Kerry run for the presidency. We had Mitt Romney run twice. So we've had a lot of interest in our candidates. It's certainly been good for the Washington Bureau. I've co-authored biographies for the Globe of Kerry and Romney. So we've benefited a lot from the fact that there have been Massachusetts candidates. There's no Massachusetts candidate that I know of running. I asked Elizabeth Warren, last week for the umpteenth time, is there any chance you can get in? She said no, but so this time around, we're devoting a lot of our resources to try to, first of all, cover New Hampshire as we always do, and also cover the issues that are dividing the country. So this year, the Washington Bureau, for example, has been working on a series of stories that we call Divided Nation, and that's looking at some of the most polarizing issues in the country. So we're devoting some of our resources not just to covering candidates, but also to the real issues that are dividing us.
Now, you mentioned Senator Elizabeth Warren. It must be fun to cover, right? Because she's such an activist and so outspoken.
A very interesting person. I first got to know her when I was assigned to do a profile of her and got to meet with her at her classroom at Harvard. So I spent some time watching her teach at Harvard, interviewing her at her office at Harvard Yard. So then today, interviewing her at her Senate office.
Why would you have done a profile on a professor at Harvard? I mean, of whom there are hundreds.
Well, I think this was a time when she was being talked about as coming down here to run the Consumer Protection Agency. She wasn't doing it. My recollection is that her name was in the mix, and so they asked me to go up and talk to her. It was the first time I had a chance to meet her.
Right. And she has recently responded to a story that you wrote for the Globe.
That's right.
About some practices of some of the high-tech firms in California?
Well, this was a story that ran a week ago Sunday, and it was about a practice known as stock buybacks, not just tech companies, but all of the major companies. So let me very briefly tell you, it's a very important issue, and I decided to spend about a month looking into it and ended up using one company as an example. But very briefly, a lot of people probably hear this sort of benign phrase that such and such company repurchased X shares of its own stock yesterday.
Yeah.
Why does that happen? Well, actually, there's a reason behind it. And that is that typically a company repurchases shares because they've issued stock options or awards to its executives, and they want to offset that by buying an equal amount back in the stock market. That's all well and good. And the SEC years ago said, we'll let you do that. We won't prosecute you for buying huge amounts of shares in the market if it's to offset. What's happened since, though, is quite controversial, and that's what I wrote about. And that is that a lot of companies buy a lot more shares than they would need to offset the options and awards. The idea here is that, or the theory is that, if you have less shares in the market, there'll be more demand and the share price will go up just because you've taken shares off the market. Not because you introduced some great new new product or because people are buying more of what you make and you have a great new idea. It's simply supply and demand. And there are people, and in the story I quote one expert who spent a lot of time researching this, saying that stock buybacks should be illegal. He calls them manipulation of the market. The SEC specifically exempted companies from being prosecuted for market manipulation on stock buybacks back in 1982 on the theory that this was just to offset the options and awards. He says, that's long since passed and this has now changed. And the problem is that a lot of companies today, they're actually, I say it's a problem, they're flush with cash, Bill. This is a record time for profits. A lot of people may not realize it, but companies are actually doing, by and large, extraordinarily well. They have so much money, a lot of cases, they don't know how to spend it all. A lot of times, a lot of their money is offshore. So there's a record amount of money that's offshore. They don't want to bring it back because of taxes that they don't want to pay in it. And from the critics' concerns, the money should be spent, some of it, on reinvesting in the business, hiring workers, raising wages, inventing new products. And its concern is that instead of doing all that, it's being used to repurchase shares. So that's what I wrote about in this story.
And to reward their executives, right, with these fat bonuses and salary raises.
Right.
And all
so
that
in this story, so if listeners want to go look at the story I'm talking about, you can go to our website, which is bostonglobe.com, and you search for the phrase stock buybacks. It'll come up with the story that appeared a week ago Sunday. So there are two background pieces I wrote about in the story. One is the history of how the stock buybacks came to be, and the second is how executive compensation skyrocketed. What's interesting is in 1993, Bill Clinton said, these $1 million paychecks for executives are outrageous. We need to have a law passed so that this won't happen, and we'll stop these $1 million paychecks, which now seems quaint by today's standards. Okay,
I'll say.
What happened was Wall Street came in and said, well, how about if we say, well, it's okay if pay above $1 million is tax deductible as long as it's tied to performance. And so that was okayed. What that meant was that basically performance equaled share price, and they said you can tie it to share price.
Right.
So there's a great incentive for a company to do whatever it can to boost its share price. That automatically boosts the value of the options and awards that executives are getting. And so the concern among critics is that you are essentially fostering a culture in which it's all about the share price. It's about boosting executive pay. We have record executive pay. Now, I want to be fair. You're listening to some of the things that are concerns here, but I'm trying to explain why this is controversial.
So what does Elizabeth Warren want to do about it?
Well, she says she read the story, and their office contacted me, and I followed her up with an interview, that the SEC should revisit the rule on allowing companies to repurchase shares unfettered, basically.
Yeah, because it seems that they're abusing that privilege, if you will.
And also has co-sponsored legislation that would rescind or revise the 1993 bill that I told you about, that essentially ushered in the era of multi-million-dollar CEO pay. I interviewed a former congressman, and he said this should be in the, quote, museum of unintended consequences. This was not what was intended. So really, it's a twofold story. I do tell the story of one specific company, what happened there with stock buybacks, but also the whole history of how this came to be.
Where do you find that story now again?
Again, our website is bostonglobe.com.
Did we tweet it out here?
Yeah.
We could put a link up. Yeah.
Find us at BP Show.
Okay. We'll have a link up on that.
Super.
At BP Show. Right. Good. Michael Kranish here from the Boston Globe. You mentioned Elizabeth Warren. You've asked her again recently if she's going to run. She says no. When we go back, I want to ask you, since you're right next door to New Hampshire, about some of the people who are running and how New Hampshire looks. We'll be right back. Join the conversation at 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, what do you say, friends and neighbors? Here we are on a great big Monday, June 8th. Good to see you. Hope you're enjoying the show. And we are jumping into the second week of our pledge drive. And I got a real challenge to you. I mean, first of all, if you have already made your pledge, we appreciate it. We thank you. But here's my beef with you today. If you haven't already made your pledge, why not? Come on. Don't be a freeloader. Don't just sit back, enjoy all the benefits of Free Speech TV without helping pay the freight here, because that's not how it works. We are in this together. Our obligation, the entire Free Speech TV team here, our show, Stephanie Miller, Tom Hartman, David Packman, Amy Goodman, and all the rest. We are here to bring you the very best in commentary and analysis every single day from a progressive point of view, of course. And your job is to help make it possible. You know how it works? We tell you over and over again. There would not be any Free Speech TV if it weren't for you. Our viewers are what keep Free Speech TV on the air. No corporate money, no Koch brothers money, no government money. We don't pay our guests. We depend entirely on our viewers. So we really need you to step up to the plate and do it today. Any gift, any pledge, we appreciate. we particularly ask you to consider $60. We can do $60. We'll send you this great little stamp that says not to be used for bribing politicians. Put that on your checks, put that on your dollar bills or whatever. If you can come help us with $120, we'll send you a copy of a great book by John Nichols, Dollarocracy, all about the evil of money and politics. We've interviewed John Nichols on the show here about the book. It's a great book. For $240, you get the stamp and the book by John Nichols. And for $360, you get that Don't Bribe the Politician stamp, the book by John Nichols, and a Free Speech TV baseball cap. And you know, if you can really help us with $1,000, you've been fortunate enough that you've got that, and appreciate Free Speech TV enough. Make that pledge for $1,000. Come to Washington, and Carol and I will meet up with you. We'll take you out to dinner. You come in and watch the show the next morning. Meet the team. We'll get district donuts in. We'll have a good time. Make your pledge today. We really, really need you to know how to do it. The number is 877-378-8669. Number again, 877-378-8669. People standing by to take your calls. And Free Speech TV, always online at freespeech.org. But again, this is the important week, the second week. Pardon me. Got to get it done. Don't be a freeloader. Step up to the plate. Make your pledge today to Free Speech TV. Keep this great thing we've got going, and we couldn't do it without you. Thank you for your help.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It's 26 minutes after the hour. Former Defense Secretary William Cohen joining us after the half hour here. Right now we're visiting with Michael Kranish from the Boston Globe, bostonglobe.com, of course. He is Deputy Bureau Chief here in Washington, D.C. So you mentioned you're right next door to New Hampshire. People are saying that Iowa, at least in the Republican primary, Iowa may not have the clout that it has had in the past because there's so many candidates and so many events, and some people aren't even signing up now for the straw poll. But New Hampshire's still going to be important, isn't it?
New Hampshire's always very important. Iowa, has its own role, but it oftentimes, because of the Iowa straw poll nature, in other words, you have a lot of conservatives, religious conservatives. They've dominated the caucuses. The caucuses, by definition, attract a lot fewer people than an outright primary.
Yeah.
So it's a very narrow situation, and a lot of times people who may win the straw poll, which is sort of meaningless. A lot of reporters see it that way. A lot of political people see it that way. And then the caucus itself, only gets you so far. And you can win religious conservatives in Iowa. It doesn't mean you're going to be a strong candidate for the nomination later on. New Hampshire, it's much more open. It's certainly much more of a secular state than Iowa is. And it's very important to show if you can win Iowa and New Hampshire, that's really good.
Right.
So that's what you'd aim for. If you do really well in Iowa and then bomb in New Hampshire, then people see, well, then you can't make it in a different kind of state.
All right, so you're a neighbor. Just about 30 seconds, Michael. You're a neighbor, and Bernie Sanders is also a neighbor.
Yeah.
Is he going to do well in New Hampshire?
I wouldn't be surprised if Bernie Sanders does very well in New Hampshire. I actually covered Bernie Sanders to date myself when he was running for mayor of Burlington, Vermont.
Nice.
A long time ago.
Yeah.
So I covered Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, my first job for the Globe. And, I think he'll be pretty popular. I have no idea how he'll do. But it doesn't surprise me he's drawing very enthusiastic crowds because he's a kind of enthusiastic guy.
Yeah. No, he is. He's
a show.
People are very excited. It's going to be very, very interesting. And it's fun having you in today. Come back again soon. All
Glad to do it. Thank you, Bill.
Michael. BostonGlobe.com.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, folks, just a little time out. Hope you're enjoying the show today. A little time out here to tell you again and get your about Free Speech TV and get your help. And, you know, we reach out to you, all of our viewers around the country during these pledge drives, ask you to help. And we're so grateful when you do. And it's very rare, though. We get a chance to thank one of you actually in person. So we welcome to the show today and to our studio Craig Tepfer, all the way from Chelsea, Michigan, a regular free speech viewer and a very generous contributor to free speech. Craig, it's good to see you.
It's good to be here, Bill.
Thank you for coming in all the way from Chelsea, Michigan. I know last year we met because you were made a $1,000 pledge. You and your daughter came. Carol and I, we all went out to dinner together, had a good time. That was a lot of fun.
Had a great time.
Right. And it's good to see you back. So tell us again, why do you really like Free Speech TV?
Free speech to me is the dream come true. It's television without commercials, plain and simple.
Yeah. And you like the people and obviously in the content on free speech?
All of the regular programs plus all of the special programs you can't find anyplace else on the television set.
It's the one progressive television channel people don't realize is maybe in the country, right? 24/7, where you can always count on going there and hearing good stuff from a progressive point of view.
This is true. It's 24 hours a day. All of the programs are great to watch, intellectually stimulating, and have great progressive concepts.
Well, we wouldn't be here without people like you, and I want to thank you again personally. And you're back today because you want to make another pledge and challenge people to meet it, right?
That's right. I would like to pledge a half of my net worth, 0.5% of my net worth, to match the Koch brothers' donation to the GOP. So I am committing $500.
Great.
To the Free Speech TV, and hope that your listeners can match that.
I think that's a great challenge, all right? So there you go. There's $500 from Craig Tepfer today. You can match that yourself or a couple of you, 2 or 3 of you. Get together, get your family members together, and match this pledge so Craig doesn't feel alone. And we have the help we need on free speech to get going. And, of course, you know the way to do so, Craig, you certainly do, is give us a call at 877-378-8669. Number again, 877-378-8669. Or just go to freespeech.org, freespeech.org. And, Craig, the other thing I want to congratulate you on, you are a pioneer in solar energy. I know you have a solar-powered car right now. So you're doing so many great things. You know,
I've been doing this for most of my life, wind and solar energy, and supporting environmental groups and organizations that promote solar energy.
Well, so good of you to do that, and so good of you to come in. And thanks again for your help for Free Speech TV. And match Craig Tepfer's $500 grant. Thank you, Craig.
It's so important. Thank you.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
The most valuable morning radio show, according to The Nation magazine. This is The Bill Press Show.
On this Monday, June 8, coming to you live from Washington, D.C. at 33 minutes after the hour. The Bill Press Show. Good to see you this Monday. We're here with you on your local progressive talk radio station, coast to coast, and also on Free Speech TV. Welcome to the program. Thanks for joining us, and it's a great pleasure to welcome to the program as well a man I first met when he was a United States Senator from Maine, and then saw him often. He was serving all of us as Defense Secretary of the United States under President Bill Clinton. William S. Cohen, Mr. Secretary, good to have you with us. And Secretary Cohen also has a second novel out, just published, called Collision. Hi, Mr. Secretary. How are you?
Hi, Bill. Good to talk to you. It's been a while.
It has been a while. I want to get into the novel a little bit, but first, let me ask you, if you were... I know you're, because I've run into you at MSNBC and CNN and other television outlets. You're still out there following policy very, very closely. If you were Defense Secretary today, what would you be most worried about?
I would be most worried about Russia and also China. Russia, in the sense that Mr. Putin seems determined to continue to engage in activity which poses a real challenge for us and our allies, not only in Ukraine but on the edge dealing with the Baltic states, and can get to the point where something that is miscalculated could put us in a confrontational position with Russia. So I think,
and he almost seems determined to do that, doesn't he?
Yes, he sees himself in a position where we have little option. We're not about to go to war in Ukraine. He doesn't want to do any more right now than he's currently doing, because Ukraine is systematically just becoming economically non-viable. Mm-hmm. So just what he's doing in Crimea, also continuing to push, send more soldiers in, it creates instability. When you have instability, then obviously capital is not going to be flowing into that country. And then with China, it's a different challenge, namely that while we still have quite good relations with China, they're becoming more aggressive in challenging the United States' presence in the Asia-Pacific region, particularly in South China Sea.
Right.
So the building of the islands is another example that they're going to claim territory, put very large air bases in, and that will be strategically important for them. For anyone that wishes to challenge them, they would then be able to hop, skip, and jump from place to place if they continue to do that. So it's a challenge for us, and that's just on the geostrategic level. In terms of primary worry would be still nuclear weaponry and the proliferation of nuclear material. That is of concern to me and has been for a long time. And then I would put cyber right up there with it, cyber even perhaps more so.
Right. When you get to China, of course, cyber is very much attached to that with his latest hacking experience that we've had.
Exactly. So
I mean, their government is certainly. Do you believe behind all of this hacking?
I don't know. I am at least of the opinion that much of the past hacking has been conducted by elements of the government, the PLA. In fact, we had reports just a year and a half ago that we had the building in Shanghai where the PLA was operating. As a matter of fact, I had conversations with a high-ranking Chinese official to complain about it, and then to suggest that we had to have a channel whereby some rules of the road had to be set. When you're dealing in the cyber world, some of it is done by hackers, professional hackers, some done by organized criminals, others done by governments. And if this continues without restraint, then you're getting into a step-by-step escalation. For example, when I was in the Senate and at the Secretary of Defense, we had to worry in terms of a potential nuclear exchange between the Soviet Union, the United States, or even China. The question becomes, do you launch under warning? Do you launch under attack, or do you absorb a first strike and then retaliate? Well, those are kind of the three options you had if you think you're about to be hit with a nuclear weapon, and you don't want to lose everything that you have. Well, now if you put that in the context of the cyber world, and an attack, a massive attack can be launched against your critical infrastructure. and even prevent you from thinking about retaliation, then that finger on the keyboard gets pretty close, very fast.
Whoa.
So you have to have some rules saying, wait a minute, we understand that there are going to be individuals trying to gain access to information. That goes on both sides. But there has to be some restraint, some code that we're operating under, saying at certain levels we can accept that, we'll try to defend against that. But if it gets to a certain threshold, you cross that line, and now you're talking about disabling the critical infrastructure. That's something that's more warlike.
Boy, that's pretty scary stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Very scary and very high stakes. I mean, imagine having to make that decision. You did not mention ISIS, Mr. Secretary. Certainly, how serious a threat do you feel that?
Well, it's a serious threat in the region in terms of destabilizing the region. I think unless it's unless it's brought under control, and it's unlikely it's going to happen anytime soon, and it's unlikely that the United States is going to be putting massive troops on the ground in order to defeat ISIS, then I think you're going to see it simply continue to burn. And the best that the United States and allies are going to do is try and contain its spread if they can. But no, it's more of a regional, and I say regional with the caveat that region is real important to the world economy.
Would you recommend American ground troops back in Iraq to deal with ISIS?
I would recommend more only to make our air campaign more effective. I don't think we have enough in order to really be effective for the air campaign. I don't think the air campaign as it's currently being waged is going to be able to do the containment. But I defer that one to Ash Carter, whom I have an enormous amount of respect for. He's probably the best possible choice the president could have there right now. He would know better than I.
So you think some people maybe help coordinate the air attacks from the ground and direct them would be? Yeah.
I think, we need a larger presence than we have, but it's one of those in which I don't think the president is going to put massive amounts of troops in, and I don't, at this point it would be a mistake.
Former Secretary of Defense William Cohen with us, also a contributor to Bloomberg TV. And what always amazes me is how people as busy as the Secretary is have a chance to sit down and spend some time, and a lot of time, writing a novel. One New York Times best-selling novel called Dragon Fire, and now the second one here called Collision. Tell us about it.
Actually, it's the third for this particular publisher. I did one called Blink of an Eye, and Blink of an Eye was a nuclear bomb that destroyed the city of Savannah, Georgia. But that was another nightmare that I had in terms of a nuclear weapon being destroyed taking an American city
I missed that one.
This one is about asteroid mining. And there has been an increased interest on the part of our government and others, as well as the private sector, to go up and move an asteroid and put either a robot or an astronaut on the asteroid to mine it for titanium, palladium, and other valuable minerals. And so it occurred to me, there's no regulation dealing with that. We have a space treaty, an outer space treaty that controls space for weapons, but nothing as far as commercial activity. And it's sort of like a gold rush mentality. Let's get up there, get an asteroid, and take its valuable minerals. Well, what happens if you tend to move it in a way that puts it on a collision course with the United States? Now, that's not entirely absurd. Because the reality is that it's about 1 million asteroids in our universe that we have to be concerned about. Not many of them are going to make it to the United States, but we are hit by small chunks every day. But they burn up in the atmosphere coming through. But about 2 years ago, there was one in Russia. It was small. It was about 56 feet in diameter. It weighed about 7,000 tons, and it came in at 40,000 miles an hour.
I remember the video. They had video. Somebody got a video of that.
Yeah, well, it happened. If it had come in at a different angle, at a different place, it would have taken out, let's say, St. Petersburg or Moscow or someplace in the United States. The same day, there was another asteroid. It was 98 feet and 40,000 tons, and it passed the Earth within the Moon's orbit. So we're starting to see more and more of this, and they're hard to detect if you don't have many more detection systems than we have today. So the warning is, and we've been warned about this going back more than 20 years now, that we have to be much more vigilant in order to see what is out there, because if you have enough time, you can, in fact, devise ways to deflect them. When I was at the Pentagon, our policy toward nuclear weapons was deter, defend, defeat. You deter anyone from shooting at you. You're absolutely able to defend against it, and then you defeat it. But here you have to detect and then deflect, or be defeated. Whoa. So we've got to see them coming at us with enough time, years. Because there's one that'll be coming at us, close to us, not at us, but in 2035, at 2038. So in just 2030, 15 years from now, we'll have one that'll pass reasonably close.
Here it is. The book is Collision. We'll have a link up on our website, just out by Secretary William S. Cohen. And you can also get it, of course, on Amazon and all the other websites, or your local bookstore near you. Well, Mr. Secretary, as if we didn't have enough to worry about.
Yeah, right.
Now you got to be scared about these damn asteroids out
It's
there.
something we can do something about.
All right, we can indeed. Hey, thanks so much for your time this morning.
Bill.
It's really good to visit with you again.
All
right.
Anytime. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Secretary Cohen there. A new book, Collision.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Know how.
Hey, what do you say, friends and neighbors? Here we are on a great big Monday, June 8th. Good to see you. Hope you're enjoying the show. And we are jumping into the second week of our pledge drive. And I got a real challenge to you. I mean, first of all, if you have already made your pledge, we appreciate it. We thank you. But here's my beef with you today. If you haven't already made your pledge, why not? Come on, don't be a freeloader. You know, don't just sit back, enjoy all the benefits of Free Speech TV without helping pay the freight here, because that's not how it works. We are in this together. You know, our obligation, the entire Free Speech TV team here, our show, Stephanie Miller, Tom Hartman, David Packman, Amy Goodman, and all the rest. We are here to bring you the very best in commentary and analysis every single day from a progressive point of view, of course. And your job is to help make it possible. You know how it works? We tell you over and over again. There would not be any Free Speech TV if it weren't for you. Our viewers are what keep Free Speech TV on the air. No corporate money, no Koch brothers money, no government money. We don't pay our guests. We depend entirely on our viewers. So we really need you to step up to the plate and do it today. Any gift, any pledge, we appreciate. We particularly ask you to consider $60. You can do $60. We'll send you this great little stamp that says not to be used for bribing politicians. Put that on your checks, put that on your dollar bills or whatever. If you can come help us with $120, we'll send you a copy of a great book by John Nichols, Dollarocracy, all about the evil of money and politics. We've interviewed John Nichols on the show here about the book. It's a great book. For $240, you get the stamp and the book by John Nichols. And for $360, you get that Don't Bribe the Politician stamp, the book by John Nichols, and a Free Speech TV baseball cap. And you know, if you can really help us with $1,000, you've been fortunate enough as you've got that, and appreciate Free Speech TV enough. Make that pledge for $1,000. Come to Washington, and Carol and I will meet up with you. We'll take you out to dinner. You come in and watch the show the next morning. Meet the team. We'll get district donuts in. We'll have a good time. Make your pledge today. We really, really need you to know how to do it. The number is 877-378-8669. Number again, 877-378-8669. People standing by to take your calls. And Free Speech TV, always online at freespeech.org. But again, this is the important week, the second week Pardon me. Got to get it done. Don't be a freeloader. Step up to the plate. Make your pledge today to Free Speech TV. Keep this great thing we've got going, and we couldn't do it without you. Thank you for your help.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Ten minutes now before the top of the hour here on starting off a new week, this Monday, June 8th. And what a beautiful, powerful, emotional tribute we saw to Beau Biden, son of Attorney General Joe Biden, former Attorney General of the state of Delaware. At the end of last week, Beau Biden taken from us at the much too young age of 46 from a brain tumor, serving as a major in the United States Army on duty in Iraq when he was Attorney General of Delaware, a man who was already talked about as nobody had any doubt he would be the next governor of Delaware. He planned to run next year in 2016, and people are already talking about him as a future United States Senator and even as a future President of the United States. He lay in state at the state capitol in Dover on Thursday. Friday, lay in state at St. Anthony's Church in Anthony of Padua's Church in Wilmington, Delaware. And then Saturday, the funeral, which was just so powerful and so emotional, and starting with the family walking into the church, and they were bringing the body up the center aisle, and they're singing that wonderful song from Les Miserables, Bring Him Home. Yeah. And very powerful tributes from General Ray Odierno, who was his commanding general in Iraq, who, when Beau was about to leave, how unusual is this? He told the story about he called him into his office and said, Beau, I think you should go home and run for senator from Delaware.
Oh, whoa, really?
Well, his commanding general told him that. And Beau told him at the time, I've got some things I've got to do, which means I'm not going to run for senator this time around. But again, everybody expect him. And he said that he was planning on running for governor in 2016. His brother and sister, Sister Ashley, brother Hunter, marvelous eulogies for their brother. And then, of course, the President of the United States, who knew Beau well, and started out by summing up what his life was all about.
Beau Biden was an original. He was a good man, a man of character, a man who loved deeply and was loved in return.
And the president said the true test for all of us is, did we make a difference while we were here? Beau Biden passed that test with flying colors.
The only thing we can hope for is that our children make us proud by making a difference in the world. Beau has done that and then some.
And then some, and the president ending up with a blessing for Beau Biden and for the entire Biden family.
What a good man. What an original. May God bless his memory and the lives of all he touched.
and what a moving tribute to Beau Biden and, again, the entire Biden family. I'll be back with a parting shot, taking a look at Rick Santorum. He's not happy with the Pope.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
Well, already in his papacy, Pope Francis has been driving conservatives crazy, and in just 10 days, he's about to drive them even crazier because on June 18, the Pope is scheduled to release his new encyclical on climate change, in which he will reportedly assert that world action to fight climate change is a moral imperative which all Catholics and people of faith should get busy on. That upsets Catholic Rick Santorum, who says it's okay for him as a politician to talk about climate change, but not for the Pope. He should stick to theology, says Santorum, which is nonsense. Because first of all, Francis has a degree in chemistry. He is a scientist. Second, popes have always talked about major issues, including Paul VI on the Vietnam War, Leo XIII on the right of workers to form unions and receive a living wage. Santorum doesn't want the Pope to talk about climate change for only one reason, because when the Pope calls climate change the moral issue of our time, that means that Santorum and Marco Rubio and other Republican climate change deniers are immoral. which they are for a lot of reasons. Hey, folks, that wraps it up for us today. Have a great Monday. Make the most of it. But don't forget, come back and see us again right here tomorrow morning. We'll be looking for you.
This is the Bill Press Show.